What's going on, guys? I'm PokayTroll, the Commissioner of the National Pokemon Association, welcoming you to our official announcement video for the NPA Season 2. Joining me is my friend and co-commissioner, Joedor.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Joedor, and I'm really excited to unveil the second season along with PokayTroll. We've got a lot of announcements related to the league to go over in full detail, as this will be the first time any of this is announced outside of Twitter. So whether you're new to the NPA or have watched since Season 1, we've made a few changes to our official league rules since Season 1, and we're going to touch on them briefly.
So we are the largest league in the 3DS draft format, coming in at 24 teams, each with a squad of 11 Pokemon from a customized draft format.
We will feature 13 weeks of action-packed draft format battling across 2 conferences and 4 divisions of coaches, with the top 5 from each conference advancing to the playoffs, MLB or MLS style.
Each team will have 5 tiers of Pokemon to choose from, alongside 1 Mega Evolution for each team. So it's guaranteed that each team will have a wide array of Pokemon to mix and match to their own strategy.
Each battle will be uploaded Sundays on both coaches' YouTube channels, with the possibility of practice, team building, and other strategic content featuring on either their YouTube channels and or their Twitch streams.
So now that we've got the main rules out of the way, let's go over to the returning and new coaches that we have for NPA Season 2. Alright Joe, let's hear the lineup.
Okay, so first off, returning from Season 1, we have KiDarknessDragon, coach of the Los Angeles Klefkis.
Next, we have SonicBrawler, former coach of the Cape Cod Crowbats, now coaching the Boston Celebis.
Then, we have Cybernightmare, coach of the Huntsville Houndooms.
Up next is TheXSeption, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays.
In addition, we have MissSnowBunny, coach of the Golden State GoGoats.
Following that, we have TheBeastPokeBaller, coach of the Dallas Staraptors.
Next up, we have myself, Joedor, coach of the Seattle Seakings.
And of course, we also have me, PokayTroll, former coach of the Chicago Racers, now coach of the Lancaster Castforms.
Moving on, we have Teslamouse, coach of the Houston Raichus.
Then of course, we have JerryOak, coach of the Los Angeles Landorus.
Moving on to our Season 1 finalists, we have runner-up Person715, coach of the Atlanta Braviaries.
And finally, we have a returning NPA Season 1 champion, InsaneVampaneze, coach of the San Diego Charizards.
This season, our 12 returning coaches will be joined by 12 new coaches, some from other leagues, some notable battle streamers, all known in their communities for putting out great Pokemon-related content.
Starting off with the new coaches, we have Australian shiny hunter and Twitch streamer Kriselki, coach of the Adelaide Umbreons.
Up next, we have free-for-all battler and shiny hunting Twitch streamer Blue, coach of the New Jersey NIDOKings.
Following Blue, we have veteran battle streamer Korth the Man Gamer, coach of the St. Louis Swampers.
Then we have up-and-coming battle streamer Kyle A, coach of the Anaheim A-Palms.
The next coach we have is musician and Twitch streamer Bradioactive, coach of the Iowa Haluchas.
Returning after an early departure from Season 1, we have Chris Cobain, coach of the Baltimore Blazekins.
From across the pond, we have British poke streamer Goffy's Enigma, coach of the Hampshire Haunters.
Joining us from the Pokemon Global League, we have Baby Powder, former coach of the Danbury Dragonaires, now coach of the AV Dunsparcelona.
Also joining us, we have PGL Season 2 champion Papa C, coach of the New York Lynx.
From the Pokemon Fab 5, we have PokeTuber and Twitch partner Just Play Pokemon, coach of the Cincinnati Crowbats.
Joining him from the Fab 5, we have PokeTuber and Twitch partner Galactic Elliot, coach of the Chicago Cupches.
And finally, as the last addition to Season 2, we have GBA and UCL finalist aDrive, coach of the New York Metapods.
The official draft stream for the NPA Season 2 will take place on aDrive's Twitch stream over at twitch.tv/aDrive on Sunday, February 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We're also proud to announce that we have a team of analysts ready to go for Season 2, producing quality content right here on the official NPA YouTube channel.
The team is going to be headed by Bulky Cotton Candy, and it also includes Sleepy Night 77, EV Rider, and 2 spots to be filled after the draft. An application for the final 2 spots is in the description, and the candidates chosen will be annotated here later.
Be sure to subscribe to all the coaches and analysts as well as the official NPA channel, and follow along on Twitter. Links will of course be in the description. I'm really excited for the season to be bigger and better than ever before, and I hope you all are too.
And with that, I'm PokayTroll,
And I'm Joedor,
and we'll see you all in week 1.
Bye bye!
Yo, what is going on YouTube? This is your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I bring you guys the National Pokemon Association live draft stream for Season 2. I am the coach of your New York Metapods, and I am incredibly excited to bring you guys this live draft stream here today on twitch.tv/aDrive. I am not alone, however, I'll be joined throughout the stream by a number of different coaches, but first up is going to be the coach of the Seattle Seakings, and his name is Joedor.
What's going on, everybody? Joedor here. I'm the co-commissioner of this league, and I'm really excited to be announcing it alongside Dan. How y'all doing?
We're doing pretty good, man. I am very, very excited to be jumping into this draft, guys. We're going to be breaking down the entire draft, going through each pick, through each tier, through the entire draft, the whole way through. And if you guys have any questions at all, you can type !draft in the chat to get to a document on Google. That will take you, show you the exact draft tiers that we're drafting from. That's also going to show you an instructional tab on how the draft format works. And it will also have the draft order shown there as well. Not to mention, I will be running through briefly, really quickly about how the draft will break down. And hopefully everyone will stay kind of aligned, and then we can kind of jump right into things. So unless you have anything to add here, Joedor, I think I'm going to kind of try to explain how the draft works, and we can jump right into things.
Just, of course, I will be live tweeting out the draft picks as we go, so make sure you follow @official NPA if you know you're going to go somewhere, so you can keep in touch with all the picks as they happen.
Exactly. So let's jump into how the draft is going to work, guys. We're going to basically be breaking down each round here, going through every draft pick. We have 24 total teams. Each team will be drafting 11 Pokemon total. 1 Mega Evolution, 1 Pokemon from Tier 1, 1 Pokemon from Tier 2, 1 Pokemon from Tier 3, 2 Pokemon from Tier 4, 1 Pokemon from Tier 5. Then each coach will have 400 free points or 4 picks in the free slots. These are going to be picked through the regular draft format. They can be picked in any order you want. A person could pick their Mega Pokemon first. They could pick Tier 5 first. They could pick Tier 1 first. They could do whatever they want, but we do have certain restrictions in terms of how the points can be used, how things are going to add up. And again, please feel free to reference the draft document by typing !draft in the chat in order to see how the draft is going to break down. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and you guys should be able to kind of follow along as we go. But if you have any questions, the mods are here to help, and we'll try to be explaining things as we go. So I think we're ready to kind of jump right into round 1. You ready, Joe?
As I'll be, let's do it.
All right, so we're going to jump right into round 1. We got our first picks coming through here, and the first pick of the NPA Season 2 draft is going to be by the Adelaide Umbreons, and they are going to pick Mega Gardevoir to kick things off. We see the first Mega pick going down. It is going to be Mega Gardevoir, the Psychic Fairy-type Pokemon. Joe, what are your thoughts on Mega Gardevoir?
You know, I am not surprised at all. If anyone here saw NPA Season 1, they know that the very first week, I got blown back by JerryOak and his Mega Gardevoir. I was not happy about that, but it is kind of interesting. Basically, the main way you got to kill this thing is with some solid poison, you know, fast hitters or some kind of trickery. Like I killed it with Mirror Coat. So
Correct.
know.
Mega Gardevoir stands to be one of the best wall breakers in the game. Having that Pixelate Hyper Voice. We're going to have pick number 2 coming through. The Tampa Bay Luxrays are going to grab Landorus, Therian, one of often looked at as one of the best Pokemon in the OU standard tier. However, in the counter team draft format, it does stack up a little bit differently, but the fact that Landorus is so incredibly versatile and the fact that it can be defensive, it's got that Intimidate ability, it gives you a reliable Stealth Rocker, gives you a reliable ground type, decent speed stat, can be Scarfed, can be Banded, it can do a lot of different things, and I'm not surprised to see Landorus T coming through as our second pick overall.
Lando is scary, honestly. It has way too many options for you to be able to predict what it's going to do, so you really have to wait for someone to use it first. Oh, next pick.
Oh, man, the next pick coming through is going to be Mega Venusaur. We see Galactic Elliott and the Chicago Cubchoo's grabbing the Mega Venusaur pick as the third pick overall. This is one of the best Megas in the game, one of the best Megas in the Draft League format, Joedor, and I really like how Elliott kicks off his draft here. Definitely one of the top Pokemon on my list.
It's funny. I remember JPP was saying he wanted that first overall. I guess he kind of got sniped there. You know, he's at the very bottom of the draft pick. So
the thing about Mega Venusaur is that thick fat ability really makes it incredibly bulky. Being able to only be weak to flying and psychic type moves after it Mega evolves, that really helps it out. We're gonna keep the draft rolling here. Mega Slowbro, a surprise pick from SnowBunny coming through with the Golden State Go-Go's grabbing Mega Slowbro. We're gonna see how that team ends up kind of folding out throughout the rest of the rounds. But I'm a little bit surprised to see Mega Slowbro go so early.
I'm seeing a big pattern here with the first couple of picks, with the exception of Gardevoir, just being erring on the side of bulk rather than speed. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what the other people pick in this first round.
Correct. The first rounds are crucial for molding a team because you're really trying to grab the best Pokemon you possibly can. Remember, the guys who are drafting right now are not going to be drafting again for another 45 picks. So these Pokemon are really going to be influential for the way the draft goes. Radioactive coming in next as the Iowa Hawluchas grabbing another Mega pick. We're going to see Mega Blastoise coming through here. And if you guys haven't noticed by now, we are moving through this draft very quickly.
Wow.
This is with 24 teams, it's going to take a while. Mega Blastoise, very reliable Rapid Spinner, hits incredibly hard with that its Mega Launcher ability. Surprised to see it this early though. I definitely see
I was gonna
Blastoise
say
as being a later round pick.
Yeah, honestly, round 1. I was thinking maybe round 2, round 3, because it is still in the UU tier, even with its Mega. So.
Yeah, so that's actually going to allow Brady to gain an extra 40 points towards his free draft. We're going to see another Mega coming through. Actually, if you saw in the GBA, the Borussia Donphan made Mega Absol look absolutely amazing. We're going to see the Atlanta Braviaries pick up Mega Absol here with its Mega, with its Magic Bounce ability.
2 UU Megas in a row. That'll be interesting to see. But I know Andrews made the finals last year, so I think he knows what he's doing. But still an interesting pick.
Yeah, Absol really gives a lot of options in terms of its offensive prowess. Do not forget the fact that this thing can actually hit from the special side as well with moves like Fire Blast. So Absol can be pretty versatile, and of course it does have that Magic Bounce ability to keep it from getting status. Speaking of status, we're going to see a Pokemon here, Conkeldurr, coming through. One of the best status absorbers in the game with that Guts ability. Conkeldurr hits hard, and it is going to be wonderful, it looks like, for the St. Louis Swamperts.
I'm amazed it fell to round 3 of the draft last year. I was able to snag it myself, and it's just absolute power. You run it with Poison Jab, it can handle fairies. You run it with Knockoff, it can handle psychics. Like, it's got, plus packing Assault Vest on it, it's got answers for pretty much anything.
Yeah, and I've always been a fan of Conkeldurr. I definitely think it's a first or second round pick, so not surprised to see it show up here in this draft, and I think it's a great pick by the St. Louis Swamperts. Definitely a really good Pokemon to build around. There is Victini coming through. The Anaheim Apoms are going to pick up Victini, a Pokemon that I know very well. I've carried it through the GBA through this season, and it's brought me to the semifinals here, and it is a very good Pokemon. Probably the best Pokemon in the game at clicking one move over and over again and decimating a team.
Yep, plus it can I've actually seen it run both with Specs and with Band in some cases before. I remember the one match I played it in the NPA Season 1. I had to basically sack off my Weavile with a Focus Sash just to get a knockoff on it and take it out right away, and then I got revenge killed so fast, but I mean...
Very versatile Pokemon. Coming in next for the Lancaster Castforms is actually going to be Talonflame. The Smogon bird has priority through that Gale Wings ability. I've never been a huge fan of Talonflame. I'm actually surprised it's a first round pick here. But do you have a little bit of experience, Joe, with Talonflame? It's a hard hitter.
Not Talonflame specifically. The only person to pick it last year was Tesla, and he picked it just so no one else could pick it. All I know is that it's very weak to Stealth Rock, obviously, that fire-flying dual typing. So if you're able to get Stealth Rock off on it right away, unless it's packing Roost, like, you're going to have an easy time taking it out. You know, Ferrothorn can actually come in on it really well if you know what move it's going to use. If you know... Oh,
Well, there's a good fire absorber right there. It's going to be interesting to see how the Castforms end up trying to patch up that Stealth Rock weakness later. But we got the Hampshire Haunters. Golfy's coming through with the Heatran pickup here. Another Pokemon with a 4x weakness, but Heatran is so incredibly bulky from both sides. It actually can do a lot of different things. It could be your Stealth Rocker. It can hit those Fairy types as a great check. You do have a couple core weaknesses in that ground typing, but that can be easily patched up by a Levitator or a Flying Pokemon later. Very, very interesting pick here in the first round.
On top of that, a lot of people often run Air Balloon on Heatran, so that covers the weakness right there, right away.
Correct, and it's... Oh, there it is! I knew this was going soon, and there's no doubt about it. Manaphy, one of the best, if not the best setup sweeper in the game, having that +3 Tail Glow move that very few Pokemon get. I think it's just Manaphy and Volbeat. And the New York Clinks are going to grab Manaphy. Such a great Pokemon to build a team around.
You know, we actually got a round 1 snipe there because I know Baby Powder, coach of the Duns Barcelona, wanted that because he got it in his league last year. So a little bit of snipe coming right away.
There are going to be snipes galore, ladies and gentlemen, as we break down this draft. We're going to be going pick by pick, and I am sure there's going to be a ton of snipes, especially when we have 24 teams. A lot of these teams are not going to be picking for almost 50 picks in a row. We got the Dallas Staraptors picking Mega Metacham coming through. Very surprising to see this.
Mega Metacham. Honestly, I haven't really been on the receiving end of a Metacham very much, so it'll be kind of interesting, but it does pack the Fake Out, it does pack the Bullet Punch, it's got quite a few answers, quite a bit of type coverage. Kind of scary Mega to see go in the first round.
Yeah, the thing about Mega Metacham is the fact that it does have priority. It's got that Fake Out, it's got that Bullet Punch. It hits really hard with that Pure Power. One of the hardest hitting Pokemon in the game, and that base 100 speed after it Mega Evolves actually matches up pretty well in the counter team format. It's going to be interesting to see how it's utilized. Speaking of a fast Pokemon, the Los Angeles Klefkis are going to draft Mega Sceptile as their Mega pick, and we're seeing the Mega Pool start to get narrowed down really quickly as we're flying through round 1 here. Mega Sceptile comes through with that Lightning Rod ability. I've not been a big fan, but we'll see how the Klefkis actually manage to use it.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I know Key packed a lot of speed last season. I think he had Landorus and a couple of others, so he definitely has a pattern of going with speed. Plus, he's got the Lightning Rod for the electric immunity. Not that you need it that much on a Sceptile, but being able to come in with some Dragon moves, some Leaf Storm, like you got some options there.
Speaking of a Pokemon that does not mind electric type attacks, we've got the Garchomp coming through. Actually, one of the best tier 2 picks in my opinion. And you'll see the coaches have different strategies here. A lot of people rushing towards the Megas, but the Baltimore Blazekins are going to pick up Garchomp as their first pick overall. And do not forget, guys, that you can type !Blazekins in the chat, !Metapods, !Seakings, whatever team you want to get directly linked to that coach's Twitter handle if you want to check them out as well. Garchomp is a phenomenal tier 2 pick, man, in my opinion. Definitely one of the best tier 2 mons on the draft format, which can be viewed by typing !Draft in the chat for anyone who's curious. But here comes the first Megazard coming through. Joe, tell me about Megazard X.
I used Megazard Y, so we couldn't use it last year. We had a one Zard rule. It was kind of interesting, but we're not going with that this time. Megazard X is very scary. You let that thing set up a Dragon Dance, and it will punish you so hard. It can pack Flare Blitz. I think it gets Earthquake as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it just has a lot of type coverage and a lot of heavy hits it can hit you with. Plus, there goes your fairy counter to it. There goes your water counter to it. Like, this thing just is not fun to deal with in general.
No, it's not. And once it sets up that Dragon Dance, it hits incredibly hard. We're going to see one of the things about the NPA that's very unique is we are allowing the Mega Latis in this draft, and we see Mega Latias get drafted first before any of the regular forms or Mega Latios. The Huntsville Houndooms are going to pick up Mega Latias, a very, very interesting Pokemon. It's going to be interesting to see how this Pokemon plays out this season.
Yeah, usually the reason we've left it is because there's a lot of knockoff counters to the Latis, even with the item, but it still does plenty of damage. Plus, it takes them a little bit of, a couple turns to set up and be that effective, whereas the non-megas tend to be more fast hit as opposed to set up, so.
Correct, and with the fact that you know that your opponent is going to bring a Mega Lati potentially, you can carry moves that could potentially phase it out. We've got Tornadus T coming through from the Los Angeles Landorus. Tornadus T is actually becoming one of my favorite Pokemon in the Tier 1, and definitely something I would have loved to have drafted. Hitting things with that 70% accurate Hurricane is very, very interesting. You got the Stab. It's, I believe, the only flying type Pokemon in the game that does not have a secondary type, and very, very interesting Pokemon with that Regenerator ability, healing itself up, which kind of removes its Stealth Rock weakness that it otherwise would normally have.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you set up any kind of Rain Dance or something, Hurricane's a guaranteed hit.
Exactly. The Boston Celebis are picking up the fairies here, and you're going to see the fairy type Pokemon are going to go very, very quickly as far as I can predict. Azumarill's coming through with that, the potential for a belly drum. It's got priority and Aqua Jet. Azumarill is a ginormous threat in this format. I haven't ever really seen anyone utilize it to, I think, its full potential, but it's going to be interesting to see if the Celebis are going to be able to do that this season, building their team around Azumarill.
It's too bad it's not doubles, because you set Belly Drum with a Follow Me person, and Azumarill's just absolutely evil. But at least in this case, if you know someone's going for setup or someone's switching out, yeah.
All right, so the next pick, Baby Powder is going to be picking Kyurem Black, which I think is one of those Pokemon that a lot of people sleep on, but you cannot sleep on this Pokemon. This thing has a 170 base attack stat, I believe, with a 130 base special attack stat, if I'm not mistaken. This thing can hit you incredibly hard from both the physical side or the special side, but I'm definitely looking for Baby Powder to pick up some sort of entry hazard remover in the next couple rounds here to kind of help out his Kyurem B, but this thing is a wall breaker and a half.
You know, I can't think of a Mon that benefits more from a Choice Scarf than Kyurem B. That thing is so powerful.
Yeah, so we're going really, really quick here, guys. We got Sylveon coming through next for Blue and the New Jersey Nido-Kings. Sylveon is a amazing wall breaker, but it can also be a defensive Pokemon. Another fairy gets taken here early in round 1.
I'm honestly not surprised to see the fairies go. I think we're going to see a lot more of those going real quick. You know, my pick's up next, and I already got it locked in, so I'm ready. I'm really ready to tell you about it.
It's going to be very interesting to see here. I love Sylveon, by the way, guys. Like I said, it can be very versatile, being defensive or offensive choice specs with that Pixelate Hyper Voice coming through. But you are next, Joe, and I'm very, very curious to see what you're going to be picking here. A lot of good stuff has already gone. Well, there you go.
There it is. There it is. Clefable, the S-rank fairy wall in the OU tier. One of the most powerful mons in the tier. I was really happy to see that available. And you know what? I went and snagged it. So I'm going to be building a pretty good core around this. I'm really excited.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the fairies go really quickly. Clefable, Azumarill, Mega Gardevoir, and Sylveon are all gone. The Houston Raichus are going to be coming up next, and I'm going to be very interested, Joedor, to see how you're going to build your team around this fairy. You'll see a lot of teams throughout this draft are probably going to be trying to build teams around a fairy, dragon, steel, or a fire, water, and grass core, so keep an eye on that. The Houston Raichus are going to be picking up the Rotom Washing Machine, Game Boy Luke's little brother here. Rotom Wash coming through, a Pokemon that I actually really love. And I think it's a great pick in the Tier 2, one of the better Tier 2s coming in round 1 here.
Best part about it is you can run it a calm or a bold set, and you can have a very good wall for both physical or special attacks. Plus, you can set it up with Will-O-Wisp. If you're really trying to go the extra mile on physical walling, you can give it a Reflect as well. There's so many options you have just as far as defense. We haven't even talked about its offensive capabilities.
Yeah, that's true. Rotom can do a lot of things. My pick is coming up next year, guys, and I think I know exactly what I am going for. I am going for a championship this season, and I'm going to do it on the back of Mirror on the Wall. I see that championship hanging up on my windowsill right there. Mega Sableye is going to be the mega pick for your New York Metapods, guys, and I am very, very excited to be rocking Mirror once again in the Draft League format.
All I can say is I hope you don't get Chansey as well.
I can tell you that Chansey is I don't want to have anyone snipe me. No one take Chansey. I got the wheel pick coming up here very, very soon. Do not take Chansey, please. That is my goal. As long as no one takes Chansey, I'm going to a championship. We're going to be in good shape. So the next pick, you gotta be kidding me! You gotta be kidding me! The Cincinnati Crowbats. Are you serious? Did he really just submit? Did he really just? He picks Chansey. All right, Joe, talks about Chansey.
Oh my God, Chansey is the most evil bulky wall I've ever seen. You slap an Eviolite on that thing. If your opponent is not packing knockoff, you are set. You can run counter on that thing, stop any of its weaknesses. Oh my Lord, that thing is just evil.
I cannot believe I just got sniped on Chansey.
Just got sniped. The very next pick.
Oh
JP
my goodness.
Oh my goodness. This draft.
All right. So we've got round 1 here summary. We're looking at everything put together here, guys. I want to just take a moment here to shout out my friend Cone Graphics, who behind the scenes is putting together everything, and he's done a phenomenal job putting together this template for us to use, and we're working as fast as we can to make things go. And just a reminder, we are going to be going through the picks very, very quickly here. We have a lot of picks to get through, guys. With 24 teams, 11 rounds, that's almost 300 picks total, so we're really going to need to be flying through these. So apologies if you think we're going a little too fast. You'll be able to recap through Twitter. You'll be able to recap. This video will be posted again on the NPA channel if you want to go through it. And I'm sure many of the coaches will be breaking down their own teams. I know I certainly will before the season starts, which actually will be next week, next Sunday.
Yeah, and absolutely. And also, while you're looking at the screen here, pay attention to these divisions here. As you guys can see, we're running an MLB or an MLS style playoff system. So that means that 2 people from each conference are going to get auto out, so the top, or from each division, excuse me, so the top 2 out of each division are going to go, and then each conference, so that's gold and silver is one conference and red and blue is another, are going to have one wild card going to kind of try and snipe the number 4 seed out of there. So pay attention, look at these draft divisions over and just kind of see who's playing who, so you get an idea of who you need to watch out for.
Exactly. So there you go. And again, we're going to be having all this information listed and broadcasted through the NPA Twitter, through the NPA YouTube channel. We've got a great group of analysts who are also going to be rocking with us this season. And I think we're going to fly through the remainder of the draft here, but I do want to play our draft video really, really quick for you guys, just so you can watch it in case anyone missed it before. So I'm going to play a quick segment here. It's just a few minutes long so you guys can kind of view what's going on. So I'll be right back.
What's going on, guys? I'm PokayTroll, the Commissioner of the National Pokemon Association, welcoming you to our official announcement video for the NPA Season 2. Joining me is my friend and co-commissioner, Joedor.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Joedor, and I'm really excited to unveil the second season along with PokayTroll. We've got a lot of announcements related to the league to go over in full detail, as this will be the first time any of this is announced outside of Twitter. So whether you're new to the NPA or have watched since Season 1, we've made a few changes to our official league rules since Season 1, and we're going to touch on them briefly.
So we are the largest league in the 3DS draft format, coming in at 24 teams, each with a squad of 11 Pokemon from a customized draft format.
We will feature 13 weeks of action-packed draft format battling across 2 conferences and 4 divisions of coaches, with the top 5 from each conference advancing to the playoffs, MLB or MLS style.
Each team will have 5 tiers of Pokemon to choose from, alongside 1 Mega Evolution for each team. So it's guaranteed that each team will have a wide array of Pokemon to mix and match to their own strategy.
Each battle will be uploaded Sundays on both coaches' YouTube channels, with the possibility of practice, team building, and other strategic content featuring on either their YouTube channels and or their Twitch streams.
So now that we've got the main rules out of the way, let's go over to the returning and new coaches that we have for NPA Season 2. Alright Joe, let's hear the lineup.
Okay, so first off, returning from Season 1, we have KiDarknessDragon, coach of the Los Angeles Klefkis.
Next, we have SonicBrawler, former coach of the Cape Cod Crowbats, now coaching the Boston Celebis.
Then, we have CyberNightmare, coach of the Huntsville Houndooms.
Up next is TheXSeption, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays.
In addition, we have MissSnowBunny, coach of the Golden State GoGoats.
Following that, we have TheBeastPokeBaller, coach of the Dallas Staraptors.
Next up, we have myself, Joedor, coach of the Seattle Seakings.
And of course, we also have me, PokayTroll, former coach of the Chicago Racers, now coach of the Lancaster Castforms.
Moving on, we have Teslamouse, coach of the Houston Raichus.
Then of course, we have JerryOak, coach of the Los Angeles Landorus.
Moving on to our Season 1 finalists, we have runner-up Person715, coach of the Atlanta Braviaries.
And finally, we have a returning NPA Season 1 champion, InsaneVampaneze, coach of the San Diego Charizards.
This season, our 12 returning coaches will be joined by 12 new coaches, some from other leagues, some notable battle streamers, all known in their communities for putting out great Pokemon-related content.
Starting off with the new coaches, we have Australian shiny hunter and Twitch streamer Kriselki, coach of the Adelaide Umbreons.
Up next, we have free-for-all battler and shiny hunting Twitch streamer Blue, coach of the New Jersey NEWCOMER.
Following Blue, we have veteran battle streamer Korth the Man Gamer, coach of the St. Louis Swamperts.
Then we have up-and-coming battle streamer Kyle A, coach of the Anaheim A-Palms.
The next coach we have is musician and Twitch streamer Radioactive, coach of the Iowa Haluchas.
Returning after an early departure from Season 1, we have Chris Cobain, coach of the Baltimore Blazekins.
From across the pond, we have British poke streamer Goffy's Enigma, coach of the Hampshire Haunters.
Joining us from the Pokemon Global League, we have Baby Powder, former coach of the Danbury Dragonaires, now coach of the AV Duns Barcelona.
Also joining us, we have PGL Season 2 champion Papa C, coach of the New York Lynx.
From the Pokemon Fab 5, we have PokeTuber and Twitch partner Just Play Pokemon, coach of the Cincinnati Crowbats.
Joining him from the Fab Five, we have PokeTuber and Twitch partner Galactic Elliot, coach of the Chicago Cupchews.
And finally, as the last addition to Season 2, we have GBA and UCL finalist aDrive, coach of the New York Metapods.
The official draft stream for the NPA Season 2 will take place on aDrive's Twitch stream over at twitch.tv/aDrive on Sunday, February 28th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We're also proud to announce that we have a team of analysts ready to go for Season 2, producing quality content right here on the official NPA YouTube channel.
The team is going to be headed by Bulky Cotton Candy, and it also includes Sleepy Night 77, EV Rider, and 2 spots to be filled after the draft. An application for the final 2 spots is in the description, and the candidates chosen will be annotated here later.
Be sure to subscribe to all the coaches and analysts as well as the official NPA channel, and follow along on Twitter. Links will of course be in the description. I'm really excited for the season to be bigger and better than ever before, and I hope you all are too.
And with that, I'm PokayTroll,
And I'm Joedor,
and we'll see you all in week 1.
bye-bye!
All right, guys, we are back here for the NPA Season 2 draft. We just went through round 1 here. We are about to start round 2. I apologize for playing that video again, but I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware as to how the draft format was going to be rocking. We see the round 1 picks here, and I'm going to be joined by my friend and the coach of the Chicago Cupchews. His name is Galactic Elliot.
Yo, what is going on, guys? I'm Galactic Elliot, coaching of the Chicago Cupchews.
All right, Elliot. Well, I'm glad. It looks like you got your first round out of the way. How do you feel so far after seeing the first rounds of picks?
I feel pretty good. Everybody got a really great pick, and I was very happy to snag Mega Venusaur. The problem with my pick is that I have to wait so long for the next pick, but hoping for no snipes is something I shouldn't really be hoping for. I have 24 people in the league, so
Snipe City.
Honestly, it's looking really good, though.
All right,
Snipe
man.
City.
So it's time to jump right into it. So it is the snake style format. So we are gonna see we're gonna see the same teams kind of going backwards now. So let's jump right into round 2. The first pick for the NPA draft round 2 is going to be Gliscor. So the Cincinnati Crowbats are going to pick up Gliscor to pair alongside Chansey to create a disgusting wall core. Chansey's one weakness is, of course, fighting types, which Gliscor does not mind at all.
Wow, okay, that's a really great pick. And also that Chansey snipe, though, oh my goodness.
I know, he picked
insane.
Chansey, so I have an idea as to what my next pick is going to be, so I am not too stressed out. I hate to do this, man. Everyone, I got sniped on Chansey, so it's time. It is time, guys. I apologize for anyone who hates me after this pick, but it is time, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sure I won't hate you. I'm sure I won't hate you.
My next
Oh,
pick...
don't hate you. I hate
You're
you.
gonna hate me. I'm going with Cresselia,
No.
the Moon Duck. Partnered with Mega Sableye, I'm going to be rocking Cresselia and both Mega Sableye to form my initial beginnings of my defensive core. Cresselia is often looked at as being one of the most disgusting Pokemon in the Draft League format. In many cases, most leagues actually ban it entirely.
Wow, that was a great pick. Mega Sableye and Cresselia, that's nasty. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
Pretty nasty. Pretty nasty. I'm actually really excited to use Cresselia for the first time. I've seen friends use it pretty effectively, and it can do a lot of different things. I have the makings of a little Trick Room team here. But the next pick coming up with the Houston Raichus is going to be their Mega pick to pair with Rotom Wash, absorbing those Fire-type moves. We've got Mega Scissor coming through, which does appreciate Rotom Wash's Water typing there.
For sure. I mean, if there's ever any sort of switch-ins for, let's say, it's Fire-type moves, you got that Rotom Wash in the back pocket, any sort of EQ for the Levitate as well. Mega Scizor is powerful, so much strength. Also, the Roost, just to pair it up with some, you know, restoring power and whatnot. Just a great Pokemon in general.
Not to mention a reliable Defogger, which is not a set to be forgotten. One of the better Mega Evolutions coming through. I believe Joedor is going to announce his pick here.
Yep, we got Mega Manectric, nice little speedy Volter to combo with Clefable. I'm really excited for it. I got some coverage. I got some, you know, good walling on Clefable to cover for Mega Manectric. I'm really excited to use this core. That's all I have to say.
I love Mega Manectric. The fact that it's got that Intimidate ability, it's a very fast Pokemon. It's got that Lightning Rod early on as well. I'm curious to see how you build out the rest of this team with a very, very good wall, one of the best fairies in the game, and a very, very underrated Mega pick, in my opinion. The Lightning Mountain that is Mega Manectric. But we got the next pick coming in through here. The New Jersey Nidoking are picking their team mascot. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm not picking Metapod, but Blue is going to pick Nidoking for his tier 2 pick in round 2.
The sheer force ability is going to come through. Lots of versatility with this thing as well. I mean, it has more of a base attack stat than more of a, a special attack stat, but flamethrower, earth power, ice beam, just so many great moves with secondary effects just to make that sheer force worth it, and just a great Pokemon in general. I'm surprised at how many people are picking their mascots already, like, Vamp and Blue.
Yeah, and we see the next pick come through. I'm actually surprised it made it this far. Baby Powder and the Dunsparce Alonis here are going to be picking the Mega Altaria, one of the best Megas in the Draft League format. In fact, I actually believe it is a top 5 Mega in the Draft League format. Here we see it go early in round 2 to pair up with Kieran Black.
That is a nasty core. Any Star Dragon moves, you just go right onto Mega Altaria. The problem with that is that you have to Mega Evolve beforehand just to make that fairy ability come through. So it could be 2 weaknesses if you don't Mega, beforehand going into Kieran Black, but it is a very great pick. I'm surprised you got this far, to be honest. It's all very versatile as well.
There we go. We got the Boston Celebis coming through with another Mega pick here. We got Mega Lopunny is going to be coming through in round 2 here. This thing actually is absolutely phenomenal with that scrappy ability. The priority with Fake Out, you've got Drain Punch, High Jump Kick, Return, and a number of different coverage moves, including the Elemental Punches, I believe. Mega Lopunny is one of those Pokemon that can carry a team to a championship. Paired with a Azumarill, this is looking like a scary offensive team here for the Celebis.
For sure. Lots of offense early on.
Yeah, most certainly, most certainly. Our next pick coming up here momentarily is going to be the Landorus, and they're going to pick Mega Tyranitar to pair with Tornadus T. Very surprised to see this, especially since I believe the Sand is not going to help out that Hurricane by any means. I would have actually been a little bit less surprised if I saw a Politoed or something like that here, but he's going to be bringing the Sand with the Landorus here. It's going to be interesting to see how he matches up through the rest of the draft, whether he's going to build a Sand team around Tornadus and Mega Tyranitar.
I would have actually expected them to go with Escudo first pick rather than Tornadus, because then you would have a Sand team going for him with Sand Rush. But
Correct.
That's kind of interesting. A good Pokemon, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of Pokemon that are still really, really good, really, really valuable. In fact, GBA Season 4 MVP coming through, or I'm sorry, Kill MVP. Sableye was the MVP. Weavile coming through for the Huntsville Houndooms. Going to pair up Weavile with Mega Latias, perhaps one of the biggest counters to Mega Latias, hitting it really hard with those Dark and Ice-type moves. Why not just add it to the same team so he doesn't have to worry about it?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking as well. This thing is amazing. The knockoff stab, the icicle crash, just so much speed, and just the focus sash, which can make it just a great leadoff Pokemon or just a late sweeper in general. Just a really great Pokemon in general.
That 125 base speed makes it phenomenal. One of the best spinners in the game. Starmie coming through to pair with Mega Charizard X. And now we're starting to see the plan here for the San Diego Charizards. He picks Charizard X, a very, very big stealth rock weakness, but he's going to pair it with one of the best spinners in the game in Starmie. We see a Fire, Water, Grass core in the works here for the San Diego Charizards.
Wow. I mean, if anybody else were to snag that, this is the best rapid spinner of the game. Just, woof.
Yeah, it's between this and Excadrill, really. And I think that Starmie does a lot of things with that 115 base speed stat. Can hit relatively hard. Don't forget that it can be defensive with Reflect type. Speaking of versatile Pokemon, another Fairy Dragon Steel core in the making here. The Baltimore Blazekins are going to pick the Hax God Pokemon, Jirachi, with that Serene Grace ability.
I can definitely see lots of offense going over here, but Jirachi can also be quite defensive as well, and just that Serene Grace is going to come through nicely, as well as, just having Garchomp and Jirachi the same as that team, just very, very nice for Key over here. Yeah,
so the Baltimore Blazekins are gonna have to prioritize a good Fairy type if they want to round out that Fairy Dragon Steel core, because those Fairies are going very, very quickly, excuse me. The next pick coming through is actually going to be the bulky Water type Pokemon, one of the best tier 2s as well, pairing up with that Sceptile. Again, you're going to see a lot of Fairy Dragon Steel cores and Fire, Water, Grass cores. Here's another one in the making for the Klefkis, Milotic and Mega Sceptile.
Not bad. I mean, this one is like kind of one that I was looking at, but not too much, as I have kind of a grass water core in the making. So very, very bulky, and something that I would probably be scared of if not, not having Mega Venusaur, of course.
Yeah, the two weaknesses that Milotic does have are Grass and Electric type, and Sceptile actually resists Grass 4 times and Electric immunity, so I could see a lot of potential there for teammates there. Good partner for Mega Medicham, with the Dallas Staraptors are going to pick Bisharp with that 4 times fighting weakness. Bisharp's a very, very hard hitter with a lot of priority, and kind of deters your opponent from going for defog. I've never been a big fan of Bisharp. What do you think, Elliot?
Bisharp is a great Pokemon. I would not want to draft it in this format just because it has so many common weaknesses in ground fighting, all of that fire and all that stuff. So I don't know. He has lots of offense starting off, but one good thing about it is, you have that, switching into Mega Medicham in case, any sort of fighting moves were to come in.
Yep, we got the New York Lynx coming through here, pairing up Manaphy with Blissey. Very surprised to see Blissey, one of the best special walls in the game. Not quite as good as its younger form Chansey, but Blissey still does a lot of things really well, including providing the Clinks with a Cleric, a Wish Passer potentially. Blissey just stops special attackers in their tracks and really forces your opponent to build their team around it and kind of almost eliminates a lot of the special attackers in the game, especially the mid to low tier ones.
For sure. This one bulky thing. And having Manaphy and Blissey in the same exact team is just scary.
Yeah, especially with the ability for Manaphy to set up. The next pick coming in for Golfies here, the Hampshire Haunters. Mandibuzz is going to be paired up with that Heatran. Kind of surprising to see Mandibuzz go this early. I personally don't value Mandibuzz that highly, but maybe the Haunters here have a plan to pair Mandibuzz with Heatran and maybe some other Pokemon.
I was thinking it was going to go 4th round, but this thing goes already. That actually kind of messes with my plans, but not too entirely. It's a great Pokemon in general, though. Very, very bulky, and he'll probably take really good advantage into having this one with Heatran.
Yeah, exactly. We actually see Suicune coming through, a Pokemon that I know very, very well, pairing up nicely with this Talonflame here. Kind of surprised to see Suicune go this early as well, just like that Mandibuzz, but the Lancaster Castforms seem to have a plan. Suicune is one of the scariest Pokemon in the game after it gets that, those Calm Mind setup. You get the Crocoon setup, so if your opponent does not have a Water Absorber or something to stop those Scalds, this thing could just set up and just wall and sweep just from that perspective alone. So very, very interesting to see this Pokemon come out this early.
Yeah, I'm scared of Crocoon, but at the same exact time, it's kind of like obvious whenever it goes out there what it's going to do. And Excadrill goes out for the first free pick.
Not surprised here. The Anaheim Apoms are going to be picking Excadrill to pair up with their Victini, giving him a reliable Rapid Spinner. Again, the two best Rapid Spinners are now gone. Both Starmie and Excadrill are gone. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the teams are going to be rushing towards those Defoggers and those Rapid Spinners, those Hazard Removers who are so valuable in the Draft League format.
I'm surprised that he took it this early, but at the same time, I'm surprised it went this late. It's just a great Pokemon in general. He has 2 ground weaknesses though with Victini and Excadrill, so you may want to round out a better, weakness point with something that can levitate or flying. Oh!
Very
Mega
surprised.
Swampert.
Yeah, very surprised here. The St. Louis Swampers are drafting their mascot in the 2nd round. I'm not a big fan of this pick unless they're going for Politude next, but I don't know about Mega Swampert in the 2nd round, Elliot. I think this might have went undrafted.
Wow, I mean, unless you have a water team or something with Rain Dance in general, this is maybe a risky pick, and especially since it needs that water to make it speedy, or else the grass type move is going to annihilate it.
Yeah, Swampert's one of those Pokemon that without that rain support, yeah, it's got that 150 base attack stat, but it's not quite the same. We're going to see another Pokemon, interesting Pokemon come through. The Atlanta Braviaries are pairing Mega Absol with even more speed. The base 113 speed, I believe, superior with that contrary Leaf Storm.
I'm not sure if I'm really a big fan of this thing going out this early, especially as a tier 1. Honestly, I don't even say it's a tier 1 to me, but especially with that contrary ability, it's what makes the Pokemon what it is. And, it's kind of obvious what it's going to do whenever he goes out there, but it's a good Pokemon nonetheless.
Correct. We've seen a lot of very interesting picks here at the beginning of the draft, and because of the length of the draft, 24 teams, it's very, very hard to be able to draft the team you're looking for. A lot of snipes take place here, and I'm sure a lot of the teams are laughing right now because they got sniped. We got Tyranitar coming through here for Bridio, active in the Iowa. Hawlucha is pairing up with Mega Blastoise. Very interesting to see this bulk kind of coming together here. He's got this big Sand Setter and Mega Blastoise, obviously a great hazard remover and pretty good special attacker.
That is insane. That's a really, really great defensive core thus far. You have 1 Rapid Spinner and 1 Pokemon. Maybe he's going to pick a Pokemon that can take care and take advantage of the Sandstream.
Yeah, perhaps something like maybe a Stoutland later on. We have 2 teams that are forming sand teams. Hippowdon's still on the board. But we're going to see the Golden State GoGoats pair up their Mega Slowbro with another bulky Pokemon. Actually, I believe this is the first Tier 3 taken in the draft. It is going to be Snorlax.
That's kind of interesting. Honestly, I'm not too huge of a fan of this Pokemon, but whenever you have that fighting weakness with Snorlax, you can just switch right into Mega Slowbro. So in that case, it's a pretty good Pokemon. Also has thick fats, so you can take advantage of that, I believe, as well.
Exactly, and I'm very surprised to see it go this early, but again, because of the length of the draft, you're going to see a lot of coaches potentially taking Pokemon that you might not expect to see go this early because they might not pick again for, 20, 30, 40 picks. So another great Pokemon, Elliot. Why don't you tell me about Vaporeon coming through as your second pick overall?
So I was hoping this thing would not be taken. I'm very happy it did not. So this thing is great. Goes ahead with my grass water core as well as with my fire Pokemon that maybe pay later on. Has water absorb. It's a great wish passer as well as anything else, and it's great with that stab scald as well. Just a great Pokemon, and I really wanted to take it as early as possible.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience using Vaporeon. The fact that it's so bulky from both sides hits very, very hard with an uninvested Scald. We're going to see another one of the fairies go through here, and we're starting to see this fairy pool get a little bit thinner. Tampa Bay Luxrays are going to be picking Florges here as their Tier 2 pick to pair with Landorus T.
If there's any Pokemon I don't hate more than Florges, I don't even know, man. I do not like this Pokemon. I hate it because of how bulky it is, but it's an amazing pick. Amazing Pokemon, goes well with Landorus T, and I'm surprised, just to see this thing go on this late, honestly. Like, this is a great Pokemon, and yeah.
It actually does pair, sorry to cut you off, it does pair very nicely with Landorus T. The big weaknesses for Florges are Poison and Steel. Landorus hits Steel types with that Earthquake, and of course, Ground types do resist Poison. The last pick of round 2 here is going to be regular Scizor to pair with Mega Gardevoir. Very, very good pick, man. I'm actually very surprised to see Scizor. I believe, we saw Mega Scizor go earlier. Now we're going to see regular Scizor go with Mega Gardevoir, and we see the makings of a Fairy Dragon Steel Core minus the Dragon so far.
Wow, that's pure offense over there, pure physical and pure special within the Mega Gardevoir. So that was a great pick just to round off the second round.
Yeah, so aside from yourself, of course, who do you think had the best pick so far in round 2? I've got the round 2 post-draft slide here so you guys can see kind of what we're looking at and all the picks taken in round 2. Who do you think, ended up... Actually, I'm sorry, that's actually not the right slide. Okay, well, I don't know what happened there, so we're just going to pretend that that never happened. Well, let's just move right to round 3. How's that sound? Is Joe ready to move to round 3?
I'm here. Let's go.
You ready to rock? I actually have no idea what just went down, so we're going to move to round 3 here. Okay. So round 3, the first pick is going to be the Adelaide Umbreons coming through again, getting the wheel pick back-to-back. And there is the Dragon type that will round out that Fairy Dragon Steel Core. We've got Salamence coming through as the first pick overall in the 3rd round.
Yeah, Salaman's got that Intimidate power, so it's able to be a good physically defensive wall there, and also has a lot of versatile moves. So kind of a scary mon, not one to be taken lightly here.
Yeah, no, I really, really, really like Salamence. The fact that it could be multiple different sets, including a Dragon Dance Sweeping set. It could be Scarf, it's got that Moxie, or defensive through that Intimidate ability. Here we're going to see the Tampa Bay Luxrays actually picking Mega Latios as their next pick overall. Very interesting to see, as this is a phenomenal, phenomenal pick. Mega Latios is very, very scary, and really, I haven't seen it in the draft format, so it's going to be interesting to see how this thing performs.
Absolutely. I'm very afraid to see both these Mega Latis. I'm not looking forward to facing either of these.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they work. Obviously, having the Calm Mind to potentially boost themselves, and they just very, very, very scary.
All right, so up next we have
there it is.
I'll
let you take this one here. Go ahead.
All right, so up next we got Chicago Cub Chews Galactic Elliot here taking Mamoswine. Elliot, you want to say a few words about Mamoswine?
Sure, I'm actually surprised it went on this far. I thought this thing was going to be taken at least in the 1st or maybe early 2nd round, and whenever I saw it up there, I had to take it. This thing is so bulky. You can run a Scarf on it, you can run Life Orb on it, you can run even special type, special attack moves on it. It's like Freeze Dry to get rid of those water type Pokemon, and if I'm going to get Swampert one of these weeks, it's going to be a monster and a half, so I had to take it, and it's just a great Pokemon in general.
I 100% agree with you. Mamoswine is very, very scary. We're going to see the Golden State GoGoats coming through with their 3rd pick overall to pair with Mega Slowbro and, of course, Snorlax here. We got Umbreon, the big, bulky wall that could be bulky from both sides, both the physical side and the special side.
Umbreon is just one of those pokes that because it can Wish Support, Wish Protect so well, it's very hard to get a handle on it. Plus, it's got Foul Play, so it doesn't have to invest in attack at all. It can still heavily hit back. It's got Payback. Like it has a lot of different options, and you don't quite know how it's going to come back at you while it's just sitting there walling you.
That is correct. It's got the foul play, so it does have some sort of an offensive presence. Radioactive and the Iowa Hawluchas are going to be jumping on their next pick here, which is going to be Raikou as their first free pick, which also does fall into the tier 1 tier, just like Tyranitar, making use of those extra points from the Blastoise. Raikou is a very, very good Pokemon. Fast electric types have always shown to be very effective in this kind of format, and we'll see how Brady's able to use Raikou this season.
I love using Raikou with sticking Assault Vest on it, and it can take so many hits from so many things. Earth Power even, I think, isn't a 2-hit KO with an Assault Vest on it, so definitely something to watch out for. Throw Hidden Power Ice and some other kind of, Volt Switch and then some kind of other coverage move, and ooh.
Yeah. The Atlanta Braviaries are coming through with their third pick overall. One of the few fairies left. As I said, these fairies are going really quickly. Togekiss, another one of those Haxie-type Pokemon with that Serene Grace ability, another Defogger as well. This thing can set up on your face with a nasty plot. Very, very good pick. I'm actually surprised to see it go in the third round.
I'm just glad that Togekiss and Jirachi did not find themselves on the same team this year, so we're not having one team entirely based around Flinch Hacks. That'd be really great.
Yeah, we've got the Mega Absol, Superior, and Togekiss rounding out so far this team in the first 3 picks for the Atlanta Braviaries. We got the St. Louis Swampers coming up next, who did pick Mega Swampert as their first pick, and they're going to pick Tornadus Incarnate form as their third pick overall to pair with Mega Swampert and Conkeldurr, so I'm very surprised still no Politoed.
No Politoed at all. I think, does Lando Eye get Rain Dance? Because if so, that would still be a decent setup.
I believe Tornadus Eye does get Rain Dance, yeah.
Yeah, plus it gets that Prankster, so it is able to set Rain Dance up really quickly to set up for Mega Swampert here. Plus it has its own Hurricane if it decides to stay in. So kind of a decent combo there. Kind of weird without the Politoed, but definitely something to watch out for nevertheless.
Definitely looking for the Swamperts to pick up Politoed as the draft continues here. The next pick is actually going to be from Kyle A. The Anaheim Apoms picking up Tier 3 Pokemon Tangrowth, one of the best pivot Pokemon in the game. And again, the Tangrowth coming through to pair with the Victini and the Excadrill.
That's just another one of those mons that gets so powerful with Assault Vests. Something to be very afraid of. You can go ahead and swap it in on pretty much anything.
Yeah, just ignore the fact that Jolteon's there on Tier 2, guys. A little typo there. Maybe a spoiler for the next round. The next pick coming through is going to be the Lancaster Castforms coming through with their multiple weather. We'll see what they're going to be going for, picking up Talonflame, Suicune, and now the Eon Pokemon Latios, the Defogger that we were waiting for to pair up with that Talonflame. Here's Latios, and I'm surprised it's going in the third round. This is a top 10 pick, really.
Yeah, honestly, the fact that both Megas went early on and we have yet to see even Latios go, and then Latios is already is dropping all the way down to Tier 3. Round 3 is really surprising to me. It'll be interesting to see how people use the Megas, but I mean, we all kind of know what to expect from Latios and Latios, just kind of Draco and Thunderbolt or whatever coverage move you stick on it. So,
and again, that defog support for the Talonflame is going to be crucial for the Castforms moving forward.
Absolutely. Very
surprised to see the Haunters pick this pick coming through. Chestnut Tier 3, very, very bulky grass Pokemon, and it's got that fighting type as well. But I don't know if I see it as a third-round Pokemon necessarily.
I don't know about a third round, but Chestnut is one of those mons that you can throw as many super effective moves at it. It doesn't care. It can Spiky Shield one turn. It can Leech Seed the next. It can just stall you out with that if it needs to. So unless you have something that can come in and remove it from play right at the get-go, it's just gonna make your day miserable.
Yeah, do not forget. That's a great point. The fact that it does get that bulky offense. Not sure how well or bulky, hazard setting. Speaking of bulky hazard setting, great segue there. We got the New York Lynx picking up Skarmory, and that is going to round out their Skarmory Blissey core to pair with Manaphy. Wow.
I think we got Papacy here who wants to say a couple words about Skarmory. You here?
Yeah, okay. Skarmory Blissey is one of my favorite quirks to ever use in pair with Manaphy. I don't think anything can stop us.
That's a bold statement there.
Except for Conkeldurr, maybe, but that's we don't play that version.
Except for Conkeldurr,
we don't play that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even so, Conkeldurr doesn't want to take that Rocky Helmet damage, so plus you could roost off most of what Conk does anyway. The next pick coming through for the Dallas Staraptors is not Staraptor. Rather, it's actually one of the few spinners that I think are really worth picking in the early rounds. You saw Starmie and Excadrill go. Now we're going to see Donphan go. Priority with that Ice Shard, good Stealth Rocker, good Rapid Spinner, and just a good ground type in general to pair with that Bisharp and the Mega Medicham. Not sure what the Staraptors are working on here with their team, but it looks pretty interesting.
It's kind of interesting that these many, and on one hand you have all these spinners going in the first couple rounds, but at the same time it's like we're running out of spinners. So when we get down to the lower rounds, anyone who doesn't have a spinner is going to be scrambling for Sand Slash or any of those weird ones down below.
Correct. So we saw the Klefkis actually go with Milotic as their second pick. Now they're going to pick the heavy hitter Terrakion, one of the best offensive Pokemon in this draft. Not too great defensively, so definitely needs some defensive support. But from an offensive perspective, Terrakion breaks walls like very few Pokemon can.
Definitely one of the biggest offensive threats, especially in counter format, because you don't have to worry about Conkeldurr every week as a nice counter to it. You can basically just come in and start close combating, start stone edging. You have so much coverage on this. Choice Band, Assault Vest, you have so many options with Terrakion. Really a scary mon to deal with.
This is a pick I'm very excited to see. We see the Fairy Dragon Steel Core get rounded out here for the Blazekins in their first 3 picks. We've got Mega Deontay, a Pokemon that has previously been relatively untested in the Draft League format as far as I know. It's going to be interesting to see how the Blazekins actually work with Mega Deontay here, pairing with Jirachi and Garchomp.
I love using Mega Deontay in OU tier. Diamond Storm and Moonblast gives it that nice physical and special attack. You've got that defense boost that it can get from Diamond Storm, and you also got some Earth Power coverage to handle its main weakness, which being, Steel typing, obviously. So you're able to cover that as well.
Exactly. Here comes the San Diego Charizards, one of the teams I think to watch right now with this draft. You're going to see that Fire, Water, Grass Core come through, and the makings of a Fairy Steel Dragon Core as well. Ferrothorn pairs up very nicely with that Mega Charizard X, 4 times weakness to resistance of fire to kind of pair with that Ferrothorn and the Starmie. He's got the Rapid Spinner. This team is looking pretty scary already.
And that's the great thing about Ferrothorn is that attacking moves on Ferrothorn are completely optional. You can run a Leech Seed, Spikes Stealth Rock set, and it works just fine with a Rocky Helmet. So, I mean, you can catch someone off guard with a Gyro Ball. You have a lot of options.
Wow, I did not see this pick coming from the Huntsville Houndooms coming through. Zygarde as their first tier 2 pick here. Zygarde coming through. Very interesting Pokemon. Can potentially set up from a physical side with the Dragon Dances. Also very frequent to see a Coil Sweeper, but it does have that crippling 4 times weakness to Ice, and he's got a bit of an Ice weakness here so far on the Houndooms.
I think this is the earliest I've ever seen Zygarde go in a draft in any league, so this will be interesting to see. I mean, it does have that massive Ice weakness that isn't covered as well as, say, Garchomp or anyone else like that covers it, but he does have the ability to Coil. He does have the ability to set up, so decent power.
Yeah, we got the Landorus coming through with their 3rd pick overall. It is going to be Slowbro, the Regenerator Monster. I'm actually curious to see where Slowking goes here in this draft, but Slowbro is going to be going in the 3rd round here, pairing nicely with the Tyranitar and the Tornadus. I'm not sure if I see the direction where the Landorus are going just yet, but we might find out in the next couple rounds.
It's too bad that Slowbro has that giant weakness to knockoff that Mega Slowbro doesn't have, because otherwise it could just set up and, handle pretty much anything with that Psyshock and that Scald. So, definite threat to watch out for. You do not want to let that thing calm mind up.
Exactly. You got a nice little Regenerator core there going as well with the Slowbro and the Tornadus. Free pick coming through here. I believe Electros is actually structured in our tier 3 picks. Electros coming through as the 3rd pick for the Boston Celebis with that Levitate ability. Has no weaknesses aside from Mold Breaker Pokemon. Pairing nicely with Mega Lopunny and Nazu. Kind of another team that I'm a little bit surprised to see these picks, but we'll see how the draft plays out here.
I mean, on one hand, you see the Electros come in with the Levitate. You would expect to see it paired with some kind of, some major ground weakness, something that can take advantage of the switch. But, I mean, Lopunny's not an incredible ground weakness, and Azumarill can handle it relatively well, so...
Speaking of a Pokemon that can take ground attacks pretty well, you got a Levitator here in Bronzong, pairing up with the Dunsparce here, grabbing this Pokemon to go with his Kyurem and his Mega Altari. He's got a couple weaknesses there that he's covering with this Bronzong. Good Stealth Rock setter, and it's kind of interesting to see how this Bronzong's going to play out here.
Hey, Jared, are you here for a few words? Maybe not. All right, so Bronzong's got a lot of defensive ability, able to handle Reflect and Light Screen, able to Gyro Ball, able to get a lot of hazards up. Bronzong's definitely something to be afraid of, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to take a second here to thank...
Yes, I am here. I just wanted to say...
Oh.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, guys, thank you so much for the championship I've already won.
Okay, can I just kick him out of the call? The next pick coming through for the New Jersey NeWCOMER is going to be Mega Aggron.
It's very easy. It's very easy for me to win.
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks for adding that in. Anyway, we got the next pick, obviously, the New Jersey NeWCOMER picking Mega Aggron, a Pokemon I know very, very well. Pairing up with Sylveon, I think Blue is actually trying to take a little bit of my my GBA swagger here.
Oh, you got that Mega Aggron. Oh, wow, I'm not even going to get a chance here. Thanks, Jared.
Anyway, so next pick, we got the... Yeah, go ahead. Talk about Crawdon.
Oh, Crawdon. Where to begin? Aqua Jet, knockoff. A lot of heavy hits, a lot of Choice Band in action, a lot of Dragon Dance setup. I've got options here. Really nice physical sweeper to pair along with my special sweeper in Mega Manectric and my wall in Clefable here. So I'm really looking forward to using this. Also, I can't even begin on this thing. It's just scary. I've been on the receiving end of a punishment from it, so I'm really glad to finally dish some out.
Yeah, this thing's really good. You mentioned the Dragon Dancing, the knockoff, and now we're going to actually see the Houston Raichus coming through with their 3rd pick overall. Latias pairing nicely with the Mega Scissor, 2 actual Pokemon that get defog on his team now. Rotom Wash, Latias, and Mega Scissor. Latias coming through as the Houston Raichus pick. And of course, your New York Metapods are actually coming up next. I've decided to go with Cresselia and Mega Sableye to start off my draft with the defensive presence here. And my next pick is going to bring all sorts of offense. And it is going to be one of the top kill leaders in this league in my humble opinion. That's my prediction. I'm going to predict that. I did want to say, too, by the way, thank you to Dam1212 for the $10 donation for supporting the league. Thank you, my friend. But my next pick is going to be Entei coming through for the New York Metapods, one of the best offensive fire types in the game.
Oh boy, Entei. That's the great thing about Entei is that most people know to expect the Sacred Fire physical set, but as we've seen in past leagues, I know I think a certain Penguin has been on the receiving end of a Solar Beam or 2 from a Sunny Day Entei, so definitely something to be on the lookout for. I'm not a fan of going up against Entei, so I'm really glad I don't play you in the regular season.
I do like Entei, that 50% burn with the Sacred Fire. The Cincinnati Crowbacks are coming through to round out round 3, and they are going to pick up Mega Gallade to go with their Chansey Gliscor defensive cord. Mega Gallade's a very interesting pick. I'm actually surprised to see it go this early, though.
I mean, I guess I could see it as a response to Mega Medicham going already. I mean, in all honesty, I think Mega Medicham handles most of the roles that Mega Gallade can do. Still a very powerful offensive threat for sure, though.
Yeah, so here
and also,
it
has sorry to interrupt, but in case it hasn't already mega evolved or whatever, you can easily just go in and take some knockoffs and get that attack boost as well.
Yeah, I definitely dig Mega Gallade. Very interesting. It's got some decent bulk too with that Will-O-Wisp as well. We've got the round 3 summaries here, and I believe Elliot's going to be joining me for the next round, jumping into round 4 here momentarily. Is there anything that stands out to either Joe or Elliot for round 3?
I mean, it's kind of interesting seeing a lot of mons that I consider to be potentially round 3, maybe as low as round 5 going at this point. I saw a lot of people drafting megas in the first round. There aren't nearly as many megas rounding out for those who are still missing some megas. I see a couple, but there's still at least, 6 or 7 teams that don't have their mega that are going to be, low-balled it, if you will. But anyway, one thing to remember is that we are going to be trying to get the other coaches to come in and talk about their picks a little bit briefly if they are ready at the time of. So just keep that in mind.
Correct. And guys, if you ever want to see the draft document as it's going live, you can type !draft in the chat, and Nightbot will give you the document that should show you guys what Pokemon are available and what tier to hopefully clear anything up. There's also a tab that's going to explain how the tiering system works, and I believe the draft order will be on the last tab. So I think it's time for us to move on to round 4 here. I believe Elliot's going to be joining me for the primary part of the commentary. We might have a couple other coaches joining in as we go.
Yes, sir. Let's get it on.
All right, let's make it happen. So round 4, kicking things off here. We are on the wheel pick. The Cincinnati Crowbats are going to be picking up Tentacruel, a very, very good spinner here in Tier 3. Chansey Gliscor, Tentacruel, and Mega Gallade. So we see Mega Gallade and Tentacruel as their back-to-back wheel picks. What do you think about Tentacruel?
It's a very good Pokemon. You have lots of things going for it. It could also get Toxic Spikes, I believe, right?
Correct. It does get Toxic Spikes. It actually does have a 100 base speed stat as well, which is very surprising. So you can run offensive Tentacruel, and it's a great Pokemon for stall teams. Actually, one of the better Pokemon for stall teams. Your New York Metapods are coming up next, of course, and I'm a little bit biased, obviously, because I'm the coach, so that's why I say your Metapods. But there's a lot of great coaches here in this league, guys, so make sure you type in ! insert team name here, ! Metapods, ! Cubchoose, ! Seakings, etc. to get the Twitter links for each team. My next pick here, pairing up nicely with some of the other defensive mons I have, is the nice Tier 3 Pokemon Amoonguss, starting a little bit of a regenerator action here. One of the few Pokemon that does get Spore, of course, and this thing is a phenomenal defensive pivot, and I think it's going to pair nicely with Cresselia, Mega Sableye, and Entei. I think it's going to pair very nicely.
Ooh, that regenerator core. Oh, if anybody else lets you get another regenerator Pokemon, that's going to be a disgustingly
Just wait
defensive
till I draft
team.
Slowking. We got the Houston Raichus coming through with a Typhlosion pick here. Kind of surprised to see Typhlosion. I think it's the first Tier 4 Pokemon going with that Flash Fire boost, base 100 speed, and those eruptions. What do you guys think about this Typhlosion pick so far?
Honestly, I love Typhlosion so much, but in this format, it's going to get destroyed. Get some Stealth Rocks up there, lots of, Pokemon that can learn ground-type moves. This thing is not going to last out there very long, especially with that Eruption being its best type of move to use. And if it's not at full HP for that, it's not going to be at its full potential.
It's going to be interesting to see. Actually, probably a better fire type coming through with Joe. I don't know if Joe wants to talk a little bit about Rotom really quickly.
Yeah, I was a little worried about taking 2 electric types this early, but then I realized that, Rotom Heat's got that levitate coverage. It basically isn't an electric type as far as defense is concerned. So definitely something to pair well with Manectric, able to cover anything other than, I think, Haxorus and Excadrill are the only things I need to fear with that Mold Breaker Earthquake. So definitely something I'll have answers for in the future.
Yeah, this dual electric type is very interesting to see. We'll see what Blue is going to pick here as his next pick. The New Jersey NEWCOMER are actually going to round out their Fairy Dragon Steel core here. Mega Aggron we saw as their last pick. Sylveon is their first pick. Now we see Hydreigon, an amazing wall breaker. And I think this thing could actually do a lot of work, but there's a little bit of a lack of speed so far on Blue's team that he's going to have to address in the later rounds.
You may have to scarf one of the Pokemon, especially the Hydreigon. It's a great Pokemon, though, very versatile. The problem with that is also that it's like weak to so many different moves, 4 times weak to many moves as well. Just like, it's a great Pokemon, just you gotta round out the weaknesses that it can have. And yeah, he has lots of lack of speed as well.
I think he did round out those weaknesses though, with that steel, the Fairy type being the weakest. He's got 2 Pokemon to resist that. The Dunsparce coming through here with the Mew pick. Very surprised to see it go in round 4. Mew is one of the best Pokemon in the Draft League format, being able to run virtually any set, a very good defogger, and I think this is going to pair very well with Mega Altaria, Bronzong, and Kyurem Black.
For sure. I'm surprised it actually went this long. I thought it was going to go around like in the round 1 or 2 or something like that. It can do everything pretty much for you. It can be the Stealth Rocker. It can just take hits. It can knock it off. It can run Side Shock. It's just such a great Pokemon in general.
The Boston Celebis coming through next, not picking their mascot Celebi, rather picking a different grass-type Pokemon, Breloom, another Pokemon that gets Spore as well, not to mention a number of different sets, including the Technician sets. It can also be running a Poison Heal variant, and very interesting to see this team. The Celebis are a team that I don't fully understand yet, but they've got a lot of offensive pressure, especially on the physical side.
Yeah, I'm not sure how they'll work out together. I don't think they really have like a core in the making yet. I mean, you got the grass, you got the water, but I don't see them really working too well together, especially defensively. This team just looks too frail so far, in my opinion, but they can obviously round it out a little bit better.
The Landorus is coming through with their next pick. They're going to pick Shaybe. There's no shame in puns. We got Shaman coming through as our next pick. A very good tier 3 Pokemon, firing off those big seed flares coming from that 100 base special attack. Not to mention the fact that it does have natural cure to potentially absorb, some statuses for some of his other Pokemon. So he's got that little regenerator core. It's going to be interesting to see whether he picks up a fire type here in the next round.
Let me interject really quick. I absolutely hate Shaman. This thing is the bane of my existence. This thing knocked me out of the playoffs. I hate Shaman, and the fact that Jerry's got it again.
The Houndooms coming through with their next pick, a good fire-type Pokemon, a very good wall breaker, and of course, a sheer force monster. Darmanitan coming through for the Huntsville Houndooms, not picking Houndoom, picking Darmanitan instead. All right, no one has a comment.
It's a great Pokemon. It's very obvious. It's so obvious what this thing wants to do. That's the thing with this Pokemon. I love Darmanitan. You just know it's going to go out there and Flare Blitz or Utser, and that's the thing with it.
It does get some other coverage options, including Rock Slide and Superpower, not to mention the fact that it could be banded. The Draft League format can come up with some very interesting things, and Zen mode Darmanitan is certainly not out of the question. Hippowdon, a very good tier 1 Pokemon coming through for the San Diego Charizards, one of my favorite teams so far, starting to build. Ferrothorn, Starmie, Mega Charizard form a phenomenal core, and now you've got a big physical defensive Pokemon in Hippowdon, potentially taking some of that Stealth Rock pressure off of Ferrothorn, allowing Ferrothorn to free up some of his move slots.
You can bring so many different teams with these Pokemon in themselves. Like, it's such a great team so far, very balanced, and this is definitely looking like a solid, option going forward.
Yeah, I think Hippowdon could be really good. It's going to be interesting to see whether he tries to get some sort of sand support there as well to go with Hippowdon now that he has it. Baltimore Blazekins coming through with Celebi. Very interesting pick here. I've never been a big fan of Celebi, but it can do a number of different things, including Swords Dance. It could be a support type set, could be a seed set, like a Leech Seed type set, but it just has so many weaknesses, being that Grass and Psychic type gives it a lot of weaknesses, including the very common U-turn.
Yeah, that U-turn's going to decimate this thing out of oblivion, and it's just like, it's a great Pokemon, but, well, the weaknesses just makes it all the more not so worth pick.
Yeah, but we'll see how he used it throughout the season. We got a free Pokemon coming through here. Scrafty actually coming up for the Los Angeles Klefkis as their 4th overall pick to pair with Terrakion, Milotic, and Mega Sceptile. I'm not sure I see the synergy that he's going for just yet, but Scrafty's a very interesting pick here coming through.
Doesn't look bulky, but it can be kind of bulky in ways. If you're on Dragon Dance, this thing can be used as a sweeper. But without a Dragon Dance, it's not really the best Pokemon out there. But of course, you have the Dray Punch, you got the knockoff, you have those type of stabs, so it can be decent in that aspect.
You got a lot of fairy weaknesses on this team. I already see 3 fairy weaknesses for the Los Angeles Klefkis, so they're really going to want to pass that up. Now I start to see the Dallas Staraptors strategy coming through with the #1 Sticky Webber in the league. Of course, Galvantula, which is going to open the door for both Bisharp and Mega Medicham. And of course, I could see the strategy here. If your opponent wants to defog, they're going to give a +2 attack boost to that Bisharp.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty nasty. And I was kind of looking into getting Galvantula, so this is kind of a snipe in a way, but this is a really great Pokemon. Very, very fast. A great lead-off option, of course. And, of course, like you mentioned, if they predict the defog, they can go away into Bisharp, and that's just a sweeper in the making.
Exactly. The New York Lynx coming through, and we saw the Rapid Spinner pool starting to get thinner and thinner, and the entry hazard removers are getting thin, so we're going to see Hitmon top coming through. A little bit surprised to see Hitmon top pair with Skarm Bliss, especially since the defogging Bliss and the Manaphy, of course, but Hitmon top coming through as the next pick, a tier 4 pick for the New York Lynx.
Yeah, like I said, like great Rapid Spinner, very bulky in ways. They can run Intimidate and it can run Technician, and you know, not really the best attacker, obviously, but it can really work well, especially if you don't bring Skarmory 1 week. You can just bring him on top, and it will definitely run out the team in general.
Now, Coffee's coming through with the Haunters, picking Mega Charizard Y. Of course, both Charizards are available to be picked, and they have both been drafted now. Only regular Charizard remains. Mega Charizard Y. We're going to see if the Haunters here try to get some Sun support to work with this, but they're going to need another good hazard remover, because I don't think Mandibuzz can take on all the weight.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm really a big fan of this like pick, especially whenever you have Heat Wrench. Sure, you can take advantage of Fire type moves being even more powerful, but I don't know if I'm really a huge fan of them picking Giga Charizard as their Mega, personally.
And I believe we're being joined by Kyle here for the, we'll be joined by Kyle here momentarily. The next pick coming through for the Castforms is going to be Porygon 2, a very, very bulky Pokemon with that Eviolite. But now we're seeing a little bit of a knockoff weakness, so the Castforms are going to have to patch that up moving forward here. But I really, really like the Porygon 2 pick, one of my favorite bulky Pokemon. We're going to be joined by Kyle now to announce his next pick, if you're ready, Kyle.
Alrighty, yeah, thank you so much for having me, guys. Okay, so I actually am going to go ahead here. I'm going to pick up Jolteon. Pretty much the 2 big things that I wanted pre-draft. I wanted a physical attacking fire type so I could get, not have to worry about burn, and I wanted that fast electric type so I'd be able to switch in, switch out, volt switch, and, it's something that I really prioritized.
Very, very cool. I think fast electric types have shown themselves to be very, very effective. I know Jolteon very, very well, as I do know Victini as well. Very interesting to see. Sorry for the spoiler on the last round there, but we got Jolteon coming through for the Anaheim Apoms. We got the Swampers coming up next.
It's all good, man.
I've been following the Swampers picks here pretty closely because they did pick up Mega Swampert. I'm waiting to see that Politoed pick drop. Will that be their next pick? We're going to find out here momentarily. It is not going to be Politoed, but rather it's actually going to be Dragonite. Very interesting to see Dragonite go, as the tier 1 picks are starting to get very, very thin with a 24-team draft format. What do you think about Dragonite, Elliot?
It's a great Pokemon, especially if you have like that multi-skill up. Also, it can have Roost to get you back to that multi-skill, so that's a very valuable Pokemon to have. And I'm not sure if I'm really gonna buy on it, honestly, because it's like another tier 1 Pokemon. If Andrew's looking to get any sort of Swift Swim type of option with Rain, he shared really big Politoed, but honestly, Dragonite can work well with this team, so not really the worst pick ever.
Speaking of a Pokemon that works very nicely in Rain, the Atlanta Braviaries is picking one of the few good dragons left, although I believe Haxorus is still on the board. Kingdra coming through here for their next pick, and that's going to, be very interesting. I don't know if I necessarily like Kingdra because you have to set manual Rain, but the Swamperts might have a little bit of competition for Politoed on this wheel pick here soon.
You can also have the Kritra set, and it goes very well with having Togekiss and Kingdra on the same exact team, just because you have the Dragon, you have the Fairy to round it out. But yeah, I'm not a huge. I like the pick actually a lot. Kingdra is a really good Pokemon, especially if you get like a Focus Energy up if he's running Kritra. But yeah.
All right, so we got Radioactive coming through. With his next pick, it is going to be Registeel. Registeel, one of the better tier 4 Pokemon in my opinion, and one of the very, very good steel type, reliable steel types. Gives him another, stealth rocker to kind of take some of the pressure off of Tyranitar, allow Tyranitar to be a little bit more offensive if he wants. Kind of surprised to see Registeel go this early, but again, because of the amount of teams in this draft, if a team really wants a certain Pokemon, they're going to have to grab it, because it's probably not going to be there if they wait too long for it.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I picked the tier 3 as my second pick, so not really anything crazy.
We're jumping right to the Golden State GoGoats here. We got Zapdos coming through to pair with Mega Slowbro, Umbreon, and Snorlax. We're seeing a pretty fat team here. Really, really good Defogger, fast Electric type. Zapdos is very, very good. We still got the two Thunderuses on the board as well, but Zapdos is going to go first probably because of that defogging move.
Yeah, also just, you know, the bulk like you mentioned, and just such a great Pokemon. I was actually looking to get it, but had to go early, and that's going to be not so great for me, but it's all good because my next pick is coming up soon, and I know exactly who I'm picking for my next pick, and it is Arcanine. So now I have my Fire, Water, Grass Pokemon set, and Arcanine is such a great Pokemon. It has Intimidate, it can get Flash Fire, it can just do so much. It can run a, you know, physical set, a special set, it can be bulky, it's Morning Sun. There's so many good moves that you can have on this thing. It's a beautiful dog, and I'm very happy to have pretty much snagged it, honestly. I was thinking about possibly taking Entei, but then you took it, so I'm like, you know what, Arcanine would work better because of those abilities that can work in my favor.
There you go. Very, very nice. Water, Fire, Grass Core, probably the best in the game. Next, Fire Pokemon coming through for the Tampa Bay Luxrays is going to be Chandelure. Very surprising to see Chandelure here. It is a good spin blocker in some respects. Very, very good special attack stat with that 145 base special attack. And the Tampa Bay Luxrays are going to, you know, pick up Chandelure here. Again, I'm a little bit surprised to see Chandelure go this early, too.
Yeah, it's a good Pokemon. I'm not sure if I'm really a big fan of it being taken this early as well, but so many fire types are being taken as well, and you know, I guess Flash Fire, so it can eat up those fire type moves, and he's, like you said, it's a spin blocker, so not really too crazy over it.
Not to mention Infiltrator as well to break through substitutes. The last pick for round 4 is going to be Crocodile for the Adelaide Umbreons. Crocodile is a great stealth rocker. Got that Intimidate Moxie. It could do a lot of different things, including, you know, hit things incredibly hard with that knockoff and that Earthquake. I think it'll pair pretty nicely with that Fairy Dragon Steel Core, and I really like the Crocodile pick.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great Pokemon. You can also run it defensively with Bulk Up, so it's not really the worst Pokemon out there. It's a great Pokemon in general, and it's a great sweeper if you are getting down to that point. But that team, the Adelaide Umbreons, they're looking too offensive, in my opinion. They got to look for more bulk, but great pick so far, and that was a insane round, to be honest. Lots of good Pokemon were taken.
Yeah, a lot of great Pokemon were taking. I would say if I had to pick the steal of this round, I really like the Galvantula on the Staraptors. I think pairing that with Medicham and Bisharp could be very, very scary. And I got to give you props, Elliot, for your Fire, Water, Grass Core with Mega Venusaur, Arcanine, Vaporeon. That is going to be something certainly to watch for the rest of the season. And it's going to be very interesting as we move into round 5 here momentarily, seeing how these teams start to round out their lineup and everything like that. And if I'm just going to take a moment here, guys, to address a couple of things as I see the chat here. A lot of people seem to be a little bit confused, so I'll try to explain everything here really quickly. The draft is live. I am live commentating this draft. I am reading the chat room right now. I am joined live on Skype. However, a lot of the slides are being loaded up before you guys see them, so if there's slight typos or issues like that, I'll do my best to address them. But obviously, it would be impossible to have almost 300 picks done instantaneously. So yes, there are a lot of the picks that have already been taking place, and we are working through the slides and updating things as we go, as fast as I can, doing it as live as I can to answer those questions. So that shouldn't take anything away from everything. We're still doing it. It's not pre-recorded. I'm reading the chat. As Flaming Haircross says, it's a pre-recorded stream. It is not, David. So I think we can move here momentarily to round 5 as we're going to be moving up here. Guys, of course, the NPA is going to be starting next Sunday on each coach's respective channels. So do not be afraid to type ! Insert team name here. So ! Seakings, ! Celebis, ! Clinks, etc. That will take you to the Twitter handle of those teams. And of course, each respective coach is going to be posting their own matches next week, and we'll be releasing a lot more information very, very soon. So, before we jump into round 5, just a special thank you to everyone coming out to the stream. I really do appreciate it. If you are new to the stream, please make sure you guys hit that follow button for me if you have not done so yet, as I do personally stream on this channel every single day of the week Pokemon content, whether it be competitive, shiny hunting, or other stuff. That's my shameless plug for the day. So, Joe, are you ready to move into round 5?
I'm ready. Let's rock and roll.
All right, my partner in crime, Joedor, coming through. We're going to start off round 5 here right now. The first pick for the Adelaide Umbreons, pairing off that Crocodile pick, is going to be Apom.
Whew! Ambipom, actually. But
Yeah,
Ambipom
sorry.
got that fake out U-turn combo. I really do not like dealing with Ambipom. It can just hit you and then switch out, and hit you and switch out. It floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee. Look out for that guy.
Ambipom is a very, very interesting Pokemon, gives a lot of momentum, and it does have a very, very high speed stat. So I'm not surprised to see it go this far, or this early. Tier 4 pick, very, very good Tier 4 pick in my opinion. And you got to remember now as we move towards the middle of the draft, there's a lot of Pokemon that might get picked surprisingly, but that's because each coach does have restrictions on how they need to draft and make sure they fill up their quotas for different tiers. So we got the Tampa Bay Luxrays coming through with Doublade, a Steel type Pokemon here, Ghost and Steel type, and now we see a Fairy Dragon Steel Core here. I hate this Pokemon, Joe. Just talk about it.
Eviolite, absolute monster, set up with Swords Dance, hit hard with Shadow Sneak, hit hard with Secret Sword, or Sacred Sword, excuse me. There's a lot of options with this thing, and if you aren't packing a knockoff user or some kind of really powerful fire type, you are going to have a tough time with it.
Yeah, Doublade is very, very scary. If you don't have knockoff, that is going to be a problem. Elliot, who just picked up that Firewater Grass Core and big offense with Mamoswine, is going with a favorite of his personal from the aDrive Army Battle League. It is going to be Medicham.
Oh my goodness. This thing should not be underestimated. It can be run Scarf, it can be run Choice Bandit, it can be run as like a Life Orb set. A great Pokemon, Pure Power makes it such a big threat. It can get Elemental Punches, it can get Rock Slide, it can get Drain Punch, High Jump Kick. It can hit so hard, it can run Zen Headbutt as well, just to stab moves in general. It's such a great Pokemon, and I'm really looking forward to using it against anybody pretty much.
The Golden State GoGoats are coming through and adding more to their bulk. Already having Slowbro, Snorlax, Zapdos, and Umbreon. They're going to pick up Tier 4 Pokemon. Dusclops, another one of those Pokemon that really relies on the Eviolite. But Dusclops, in my opinion, is one of the best Ghost-type Pokemon in this format if you can find a way to stop your opponent from knocking off, which they have in Slowbro and Umbreon.
The thing is just so bulky, and it's such a powerful Will-O-Wisp Pain Split combo with that Eviolite there. It's just something you don't want to deal with. I know Vump ran it last year, and he won the championship, so this is definitely a sleeper for sure that we got to look out for.
Radioactive coming through with the pick of Volcarona. Now, this is a very interesting pick. I'm not surprised that it was taken at this point in the draft. Pairs nicely with that Rapid Spinner and Blastoise, but it does put a little bit more pressure on Blastoise to keep those hazards off the field. Volcarona can sweep teams with Quiver Dance, and it is definitely one of the best Bug-type Pokemon in the format.
And on top of that, if you know that your opponent is readying for the Quiver Dance, you can also run Fiery Dance instead to get your, have a little more chance base, but it still gets your setup going just as well. I'm really afraid of this thing. I have to take it on week 1.
There you go. We got the Atlanta Braviaries coming through with, in my opinion, one of the better picks of the draft. I really love both the Nidos. Nido Queen coming through a little bit bulkier than the King variant, but of course this thing can do a lot of things, including set up Stealth Rocks or Toxic Spikes, and we see that come through now, not to mention Sheer Force, Life Orb boosted hits.
I'm not surprised to see both the Nidos go this early. Nidoking is such a powerful threat. It's a little bit more on the bulky side as opposed to Nidoking, which is more about, sheer offensive power. But it does have the Stealth Rock. It does have a lot of versatility that it can go with as well. So definitely something to look out for. Great pick.
Exactly. The Swampert's coming through. Still not picking Politoed with Fortress here. Certainly setting themselves up to pick Politoed, though. We got Fortress coming through. A great Rapid Spinner, but it does have that huge 4x fire weakness. But Dragonite and Swampert should be able to mitigate that a bit.
I'm annoyed a bit. Fortress was on my list as a potential Rapid Spinner there, and now it's gone, so now I'm going to have to come up with something new. So it's kind of interesting that all of my Mons from last season are being picked up real quick, because everyone saw, each of them kind of hold their own in a couple matches here. So
it is going to be Snipe City as we especially get towards the middle and late rounds. Anaheim Apom's coming through with a monstrous offensive threat here, and that is going to be Feraligatr. Rounding out that Firewater Grass Core with Victini, Feraligatr, Tangrowth. Feraligatr hits incredibly hard from the physical side, but you cannot rule out the potential of a Sheer Force special offensive Feraligatr. It sounds a bit nuts, but it isn't impossible.
Yeah, I don't have a problem name-dropping other leagues. I've seen this thing in, I think it was Nips who used it in the GBA. It's an absolute monster to watch out for. If you don't see it coming, it can Dragon Dance and just clean through your whole team. Something to watch out for. My lord.
It is very, very scary for Alligator. Then we actually have the Lancaster Castforms coming through, picking up Slurpuff as a Tier 4 pick. Potentially it should have been a Tier 3, but Tier 4, very high-ranked Tier 4 pick. Slurpuff, which is very, very scary.
Throw on that Unburden, give it a Citrus Berry. You can Belly Drum with it. If you take a hit on something else, you just have that, that massive speed boost from the Unburden. Definitely something to watch out for. I'm honestly surprised it fell down to round 5, to be honest. I thought it was going to go just a little bit sooner, especially with 24 teams.
Yeah, and the thing about Slurpuff that I really like is the fact that it can be defensive as well. It could be a Cleric. It can be a Calm Mind setup Pokemon as well. The Haunters coming through with their next pick, the Tier 2 monster, Heracross. Big offensive threat here. Very often seen as a Moxie Scarf Cross, but this is also a status absorber with that Guts ability. Not to mention 2 hard-hitting stats with close combat and Mega Horn.
I honestly am so afraid of dealing with this. That's who's got it? Goffy's? I think I don't play him, so hopefully I don't have to be on the receiving end of this. I don't like Heracross. I really don't. It covers so much of my team.
The one thing about Heracross, though, is it is often seen offensively, so you at least know that it's going to be physically offensive, but it could be Scarfed, it could be Guts, and I am not surprised to see this pick, but I'm very surprised to see it coming through in Tier 5. I think this might be the first time a league has really allowed this Pokemon through. It is going to be Hoopa Unbound, and this thing might end up being the kill leader this season.
See, the thing about Hoopa U, which makes sense why people didn't do it early on, is because no one really knew how to handle it. But the fact that it's got that Psychic Dark combo means it gets absolutely destroyed by Fairy, Bug, and even other Dark types can handle it relatively well. It is really powerful, mind you, but it has a lot of checks, which, you know, I think we're going to see throughout the season here.
This thing is scary. The one thing that lets it down is that speed stat, but it does hit incredibly hard with that attack stat, and I believe it actually has a decent special attack stat as well. Staraptors coming through with Gastrodon as their next pick, picking up a really bulky Water-type Pokemon. I've never been a fan of Gastrodon, but I've seen it used effectively, and I'm getting a little bit more interested in how Gastrodon works, but another Ground-type Pokemon to pair with Donphan. A little bit interesting to see the Staraptors pick Gastrodon, especially this early.
Yeah, you throw in that Storm Drain, and basically what you say is nobody on your opponent's side can use a water move, otherwise they have to fear this thing coming on in. However, even a strong Grass Knot or Energy Ball or something is pretty much its main counter. It's kind of the UU Quagsire, if you will, or maybe it's RU. Excuse me.
We have an error. Oh no, this is actually regular Aggron. I'm sorry, I thought it was going to be Mega Aggron, but I got confused there. The Los Angeles Klefkis picking up Tier 4 Pokemon Aggron coming through. Very interesting to see Aggron, especially go this early. But this thing can hit pretty hard, especially with those hashtag head smash.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of surprised to see this go right on this team here, because it does have a lot of threats, both in fire and as well in fighting and and ground.
It gives it a fairy check though, which that team desperately needed.
That is true. That is true.
The Baltimore Blazekins potentially sniping my next pick here, coming through with Slowking, another Regenerator Mon, which is very nice, one of the better Regenerator Pokemon. And Slowking is often looked at as being the lesser brother to Slowbro, but I think in the Draft League format, Slowking can be just as effective, especially with the Assault Vest sets.
Yeah, it's funny. You were mentioning you're wondering when Slowking was going to go. It actually got picked up round 5. I'm not too surprised, especially with 24 teams, but definitely something to look out for with that bulk. I know it's another one that gets handled by Knockoff relatively well, but still something to watch out for.
And the San Diego Charizards coming through with their next pick. Regular Blaziken here in Tier 4. Blaziken does not have speed boost in this league, just to clarify. It is drafted as Blaziken, and you might see Torrent Greninja drafted later as well. But Blaziken's coming through here on the San Diego Charizards. And this team was very scary, and it is very scary, but I'm a bit confused about the Blaziken pick.
Yeah, and remember, guys, we do allow Blaziken as well as Torrent Greninja in this league, just because they are not the uber threats that people make them out to be without those overpowered moves. So I'm not surprised seeing this go, being a powerful, close combat Blaze Kicks, but still going to be something that will not be as effective as it used to be.
Yeah, we'll see how Blaziken ends up performing this season. Huntsville Houndooms coming through with their next pick, a very reliable Defogger and Stealth Rock setter in Empoleon, potentially taking some of that pressure off of either, Mega Latias to keep the hazards off the field. Empoleon's coming out, giving him a nice Water-type Pokemon. I haven't ever been the biggest fan of Empoleon, but it can be pretty effective, especially with it could be an Agility offensive Pokemon or the typical bulky Empoleon that you normally see.
Yeah, definitely. This guy's got a lot of coverage moves as well. Pairs decently well with an Assault Vest as well as any kind of choice weapon.
And the Los Angeles Landorus are coming through with Hitmonlee as their first Tier 4 pick Pokemon coming through. What do you think about Hitmonlee?
Hitmonlee, I love using Hitmonlee in RU. It's such a huge threat with high jump kick. Also gets Blaze Kick, and I think it gets Fake Out as well. Definitely something to look out for. The ultimate counter to it, of course, is to just assume the high jump kick is going and go in with a Protect. But not everybody runs Protect in draft format, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how they're able to work around this thing.
Yeah, not to mention the potential for Endure reversal sets. It does get Rapid Spin as well, so that's something that should not be forgotten. Speaking of a Rapid Spinner, great segue there. Boston Celebis coming through with the bulky Blastoise here. It's funny, in the GBA this season, Blastoise is actually not drafted at all. I picked it up as a free agent, and I can speak to the fact that I think Blastoise is a phenomenal Pokemon. However, I don't know if I fully understand it on the Celebis team, unless they just felt that this was like the best Rapid Spinner or Defogger left.
It might have been as an alternate to Azumarill if people were expecting the Azumarill as the only water threat. Then he can come in with Blastoise, get a little more bulk in. Other than that, I mean, it's kind of a little early to be seeing alternate picks of the same type go, so it's a little interesting seeing Blastoise there.
But just as we saw Blaziken coming through, we got the Torrent Greninja as well for the Dunsparce here. Now, you might be confused as to why Greninja is still effective without Protein, but it does get Toxic Spikes and Spikes, not to mention that blistering base 122 speed stat, I believe.
Yeah, non-Protean Greninja makes an excellent suicide lead to set up your spikes with a Focus Sash, come in with some kind of either a pivot move or some kind of heavy hit to deal it right before it goes down. So definitely something to look out for.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this next pick coming through. I believe it's the Nidokings, and they're actually going to pick up Crobat, a very, very good defogger, and there's the speed that the Nidokings needed to give them a little bit more versatility on their team. 130 blistering speed stat from Crobat, hits incredibly hard with that Brave Bird, and I personally love Crobat.
And I think we got Blue here as well. Any words for us, Blue, on Crobat?
Yes, I noticed my team was lacking speed, so I was like, Crobat would be good. I also got sniped for Blastoise, so I needed a defogger or a hazard removal, so I thought Crobat would be really good for, my needs. And also, it helps out with my Hydreigon's 4x weakness to Fairy type as well.
Exactly.
Very
All right.
nice.
And then I, of course, am going to be snagging Gengar, mostly because it makes an excellent counter threat, or it makes an excellent threat to some other mons on my team, such as Clefable. Really glad I was able to pick that up, keep the Levitate pattern going, so that way I am just as immune to Earthquake as I can possibly be. To keep my Mega Manectric on the field and alive and healthy. Plus, it gets Destiny Bond just to kind of as a final, haha, I'm taking you down with me kind of thing there. So definitely glad I was able to pick Gengar when I did.
Yeah, I love Gengar. I love the speed stat on it. Coming through is Thundurus Eye for the Houston Raichus. This is the Thundurus Incarnate form, which does get the Prankster ability. Of course, it's got that 111 speed stat, and I really like both Thundurus Eye and Thundurus T. Which one do you think is better, Joe?
Honestly, I prefer running Thundurus Eye. I just love running Thundurus Eye with the Prankster T-Wave. You can give it some HP Ice. You can even give it Grass Knot. It's got a lot of threats, or it's got a lot of type coverage to handle its major weaknesses. And plus on top of that, you can throw on Taunt for it to handle any of those major setup mons, of course. So.
Exactly. My next pick is coming through. After my Slowking Snipe, I'm going to pick up the bulkiest of bulky waters, Alomomola, which will give me a Regenerator Core with my Amoonguss and my Alomomola, and my bulk is just so disgusting. There's just too much bulk. There's too much.
Honestly, I saw a lot of your GBA matches, and I saw that the major teams that you were having trouble with were the ones that had a huge amount of bulk. So now I can see you coming around and going with your Alomomola, you got your Cresselia, you got your Amoonguss, some huge threats that, just every time I see you pick, I'm thinking, you don't play him, don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to deal with it.
And the final pick of this round, the 5th round, is going to be Lucario. Regular Lucario, of course, for the Cincinnati Crowbats, giving them a little bit more offense, but I'm a little bit surprised to see Lucario get paired with Mega Gallade when they already have a big fighting type monster.
It will be interesting to see, of course, but absolutely, considering Lucario can run a physical or a special set relatively well, a lot of people don't think to plan for the special Lucario, even though it's just as effective. So definitely something to look out for. You can run a physical and a special dual set, throw Flash Cannon on it or something like that, so... He's got options.
Yeah, just to throw in there about the Lucario really quickly, Lucario is one of the very few Pokemon that does have priority, which is very important, first of all, in the Draft League format. But Lucario has priority from both sides, both the physical and special side, not to mention the ability to set up on both sides and wall break with that, that offensive pressure there. So I think we're pretty safe here to just jump straight into round 6. As we're moving in here, we're moving quickly here as we have a lot of picks to get through, guys. We're going to see a lot of interesting picks, especially as the next few rounds go by. You're going to see a lot of the teams starting to dip into the lower tiers, most likely, probably into the tier 4s, the tier 5s, and starting to round out their teams as we see a lot of the bigger threats, like the main Pokemon, start to get taken. Keep in mind, we do have restrictions based on how the draft works, and you can view all that stuff by typing !draft in our chat or reading the description on YouTube after the fact. So I believe...
Yeah, I'm just going to drop out of the call, and I'm going to let Elliot come on in for this round.
All right, so we are going to be joined by Galactic Elliot, the coach of the Chicago Cub Chews, and we're going back the other way for the wheel. So you got a long way to go, Elliot, but we have a lot of awesome picks here, I think, coming up.
No worries. I'm good. I'm good for the long run, especially since I have Joe with me as well, doing every other rounds with me.
All right, so let's jump right into round 6. We're going to see here the first pick in round 6 is for the Cincinnati Crowbats. They're going to pick up the Beast. Mohawk is Staraptor here, big offensive threat with that Intimidate or the Reckless ability.
Yeah, that's a great move, especially since you can Choice Scarf or Choice Bandit and get lots of hard hits on it as well. It can get close combat, it can get the normal stab as well as many other birds, but it's a great Pokemon, and that's really a great pick, honestly.
Yeah, the thing about Staraptor though is it is a bit predictable, but it can be very, very good. It serves as a great pivot with that U-turn ability, or U-turn move. My New York Metapods pick coming up is going to be Thundurus Therian form here. So a lot of people are complaining in the chat about my lack of offense. Well, here you go. Base 101 speed, base 145 special attack. One of the hardest hitting Pokemon in the game. And of course, those fast electric types I've got a lot of experience with now over the last few seasons. There is the power, ladies and gentlemen. And if Thundurus T and Entei are not enough power, we will work on it in the future of this draft. But I really like Thundurus, and I think this thing is going to put some holes in my opponents.
Yeah, also that Volt Absorb is going to come in nicely for you as well, especially since you have Lamamola, and you can just switch right into this, and it's going to do lots of good work.
Exactly. Pairs really nicely with my my core there. We've got the Houston Raichus coming through as we're moving along very quickly. Klefki, the hazard-setting prankster monster, fairy and steel type, and we're starting to see some very, very interesting Pokemon get picked up here. And these are the rounds that I think define the teams the most. How deep these teams can go. Getting some really good early picks are great, but you really want to make sure that you add that depth, that the ability to use your whole roster. And Klefki's a great Pokemon.
Yeah, it's kind of predictable, but of course, fairy types are always less to have, and that foul play will come in handy for those very, very strong hitting physical attackers. But speaking of strong hitting physical attackers, Haxorus comes through from Joe. Joe, do you want to talk about this?
Absolutely. Like I said before, my main threats with the Rotom Heat pick were Moldbreaker, Excadrill, and Haxorus. I saw Excadrill already off the board, so I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and knock out one of those big threats and add a nice Dragon Dancing physical attacker on the side. So really glad no one picked Haxorus. Takes one of my biggest threats off the board.
Haxorus is a phenomenal and very scary Pokemon. I prepared for it a number of times in the Draft League format, and you can't really prepare for it. Just to address the chat here really quick, guys, we do follow Smogon rules in terms of how things are worked in the actual battles, so swagger foul play is not allowed, to clarify. The New Jersey Nido-Kings and Coach Blue are going to be picking up Hitmonchan, a fighting-type Pokemon, to go along and give him a rapid spinner to kind of take some of the defog pressure off of Crobat. Very interesting to see Hitmonchan come through. I don't know if Blue's here to talk, but Joe, maybe, or Elliot, one of you guys could tell me a little bit about Hitmonchan.
Yeah, it's kind of, I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. It's a decent Pokemon, rapid spinner. It can take a few hits, but not too many. And of course, it has elemental punches as well as a hard-hitting, physical attacker, but nothing too crazy about it. But now the Dunsparce take Roserade, which is a great Pokemon, honestly.
Yeah, Roserade comes through. Obviously, having the ability to set up Toxic Spikes or Spikes could be a Cleric. It does have the natural cure ability, or it could carry Technician and hit things pretty hard with Technician boosted, Hidden Power, whatever you want to run, because you know what your opponent's team is going to be. And Roserade, I'm actually a little bit surprised to see it go in 6th round, because I do think it's very, very good. It's one of those harder hitting poison type Pokemon. Has pretty good special bulk. It's a little bit lacking on the physical side, but Roserade's pretty interesting. We got the Boston Celebis coming through next, picking up Golbat, not Crobat, Golbat. Eevee-like Golbat is a very viable threat, especially in the Draft League format, where we're going to be getting really deep into the Pokemon rosters here. What do you think about Golbat, Elliot?
No, it's a good Pokemon. Just the problem with this is that he can just, anything can just get knocked off and would not really suffice for him too well. So, I think you should run the Crobat rather than Golbat. But of course, you run that Eviolite, you run that Defog, you run that Super Fang, it can do some work for you. But I don't know, personally, I would probably go for a Crobat over that.
And we got the next pick coming through here. The Los Angeles Landorus picking up Yanmega here as their Tier 4 pick. Elliot, tell me a little bit about Yanmega.
Well, it's a very, very fast demon, and I'm not really too familiar with what it does. It's usually just like Air Slash and as a speed boost, of course. You can run Baton Pass, right? Or it can't.
No,
I don't
no.
think it can actually. No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
But it's a good Pokemon, very fast.
Yeah, it does have the tinted lens as well, which means that it can hit with those coverage moves pretty effectively here. Coming in next is going to be regular Venusaur for the Huntsville Houndooms. Regular Venusaur packs a decent amount of bulk, but it does not have that thick fat ability. However, it does have chlorophyll, so a little bit of sun action there potentially. Get sleep powder, can get some decent utility moves with knockoff. Does get Earthquake and some other stuff too. So you have Mega Venusaur. What do you think about regular Venusaur, Elliot?
I'm kind of scratching my head at this pick because it doesn't really work too well with this team. It's great for chlorophyll, especially if you're on a sun team, but this team doesn't really look like it can really do much with the sun. I guess Starmanitan, but like not really. And having Empoleon there as well, I don't know, like kind of touching my head over that pick. But oh god, yo, Vum takes Alakazam for his next pick, and that was actually something I was really looking to take. But this is a great Pokemon, Magic Guard, and it's famous for its Magic Guard focus action. It's pretty predictable what it's gonna do, but it's such a strong hitting Pokemon, and no matter what you do, you cannot get rid of it in one shot because of that, Magic Guard ability, and just such a great Pokemon in general, really.
Yeah, often carries Focus Sash, as you mentioned. It does get a couple other utility moves. You can run Substitute or Encore, things like that. Alakazam is a great Pokemon because it does not have to worry about hazards due to its Magic Guard ability. Pokemon that gets rid of hazards, though, Gligar, another one of those Eviolite Pokemon similar to Golbat in a way. Gligar is going to come through with a very, very glaring Ice weakness. Kind of surprising to see it paired up with Garchomp on the same team and Celebi, so a little bit of an Ice weakness that I don't know if Jirachi and Slowking can mitigate themselves, but Gligar is going to come through as the next pick for the Blazekins.
It's a decent pick. Of course, like you mentioned, the ice weaknesses is going to be not so great for him. It's good that he's getting something that can, take away those, ground type moves, so Magdianti doesn't get stomped on and Jirachi doesn't get stomped on. But at the same exact time, the ice weakness is not pretty. And Muk being taken right now. I think that's the first Tier 5 Pokemon being taken, and that is the buff for my mascot over here. I don't know if I really agree with this pick, but Muk.
This is a bit early to be grabbing Muk. I think maybe a different Tier 5 I could see, potentially something like, maybe like an Audino or something like that. But seeing Muk go early Tier 5 is very interesting, but maybe the Klefkis just really, really wanted Muk on their team. The thing about Muk, though, is it's fairly one-dimensional. I mean, you can run, it gets priority with Shadow Sneak, and you can run an AV Muk, but it's pretty one-dimensional. But the next pick here for the Dallas Staraptors is going to be Magnezone, which is going to stop those Steel types in their tracks. I don't know if I'm missing something here, but I just don't quite get this pick, especially with having Gastrodon, Donphan already, and Mega Medicham to break down those Steel types. I'm not sure I see why you'd want to trap them, but maybe you have some insight that I don't, Elliot.
Well, I mean, this thing is a hard-hitting Pokemon. And also, I'm kind of touching my head over this pick as well, especially since it's another ground type weakness that goes not too well with Bisharp, especially since it's 4 times weak. And, I don't know if I'm really that much of a fan, but the next pick, the New York Link Select Honchkrow, the Pokemon that seems like it would be kind of fast, but is actually base 71 speed, I believe. But it's a great Pokemon, and if you're on, pretty much anything with Choice Band or Choice Scarf, it can be a sweeper in the making with that Moxie ability.
Yeah, that Moxie really makes it pretty effective, and despite the fact that it doesn't have the best speed stat, it does get Sucker Punch, so it does have very reliable priority that does hit hard. That Moxie boost is going to boost it up. It does get Roost, obviously, for recovery, and it can also be run kind of mixed. It gets Heat Wave and things like that, so it can be pretty effective. The Haunter's coming in here with their next pick, grabbing the Tier 4 monster with an amazing speed stat, the ability to Home Claws and set up. We got Durant coming through, the Steel Bug-type Pokemon.
Yeah, and with the Home Claws ability, the Home Claws move, the ability Hustle is not really going to take that much in a bad factor. It's going to be hard hitting with its stabs, such as, using its bug moves and its steel moves. And that is actually a great pick with the team. But I don't know. He already has Heracross. So what do you think about that? I don't know.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, there's a couple different... he does have a Flash Fire Pokemon with Heatran, though, so maybe he's just trying to pair those two together. We're seeing the Lancaster Castforms picking up the free pick, which I believe falls into Tier 4, which is going to be Smeargle. Of course, Smeargle is one of the other Pokemon that gets Sticky Web, probably the second best to Galvantula, I would say. And Smeargle can do a number of different things, including Spore or Dark Void. It can also, it could Baton Pass a number of different things. You could run a lead, Sash, setup, Smeargle. But, it learns every move in the game, but I can tell you it's very, very hard to use in this format. It's going to be interesting to see how the Castforms make it work.
For sure. And, it's going to go down quite easily to any fighting type moves that, are taken out there. But Smoke is a good Pokemon, and you don't really know what to predict out of it. But this is a great pick by the Anaheim Apoms. It's a Pokemon that I honestly like a lot. It's Fairy Flying Togetic. Even if he gets knocked off, has lots of defense going for it. It's very slow, but it's also a cleric, and it can basically handle out whatever you put out there.
Yeah, I find that because of that knockoff weakness, I mean, it's not weak to knockoff, but because it's so exposed with that Eviolite, it can be a little bit lackluster at times, being weak to Stealth Rocks when it switches in, but it does get defog. It does have a decent ability to wall Pokemon, especially with Toxic and things like that. St. Louis Swampert still not picking Politoed. Instead, they're going to go with Magneton as their next pick. Pretty good value tier 4 in my opinion, especially since it could be run bulky with that Eviolite. It could also be run with Scarf or Specs with the Analytic. We saw both Magnezone and Magneton taken, I believe, this round.
Yeah, also a great Pokemon. It can have Volt Switch. It's very fast, and if you're on this thing Choice Scarf, you can just go in there, take a nice little hit, go out the Pokemon. Also, he has Tornadus and Dragonite, so the ground type Pokemon are not really going to be that fond of this team whenever they go against it.
And Pokemon that I'm very familiar with. We've got the regular Sableye getting picked here as the Atlanta Braviaries pick up their second tier 3 Pokemon. Regular Sableye has the Prankster ability, obviously, allowing to Will-O-Wisp without any problems. Does get Prankster Recover as well. Not to mention some utility with Knockoff. It's a little bit of priority with Sucker Punch and Shadow Sneak. And it does have a pretty diverse move pool. However, it is relatively frail because of its low HP stat and its mediocre defenses.
Kind of an interesting Pokemon, and also, if you even want to run special attacking one, special attacking set in general, you can run Prankster Calm Mind. So this thing can be pretty scary if you let it set up.
Speaking of Calm Mind, the Iowa Hawluchas are going to be picking Espeon as their next pick, a magic bouncing monster, which finally takes a little bit of the pressure I mentioned on the last round off of that Mega Blastoise to spin. Now he's got a magic bouncer to keep those rocks off the field, which are going to be incredibly useful and necessary for Volcarona to be optimized to its fullest potential.
Yeah, even if you predict something like a Toxic or even a Will-O-Wisp, even this thing can magic bounce it right off, so it's great in that aspect as well. And not only the most defensive Pokemon, but definitely a good pick. And next is Aromatisse. This thing is getting taken pretty early, but like we mentioned before, lots of Fairy type Pokemon are being taken, so this thing had to go eventually. And this is actually going to work really well for the GoGoats. They already have a very, very, very defensive core, and this thing is going to be great. It's also a Cleric, so it can work well for that. And what do you think of this pick?
Yeah, I think Aromatisse is great. I think this is right around the time when it should be taken. Obviously, Trick Room potential. It can be a Cleric, as you mentioned. It hits relatively hard with that Moon Blast. But I'm looking for the GoGoats to pick a little bit more offense moving forward here, as their team is very, very bulky, but does have some Trick Room opportunities. Your pick coming up next here, going for Azelf, a little bit of speed here.
So just to clarify, this is not a tier 1 Pokemon, this is a tier 2 Pokemon, but with the lack of tier 1 Pokemon, I decided to use my tier 1 Pokemon as my tier 2 pick. So, I picked Azelf. I was actually going to go with Alakazam to be my tier 1, but that was actually taken already. The reason why I took this is because it's very, very versatile. You can run it special, you can run it physically, and also has Levitate, so any ground type Pokemon, you can just go right onto this thing. Obviously, Moat Breaker is going to destroy it, but you know what? It's a great Pokemon. I had to take it, and whenever I was out there, I decided to.
So the Tampa Bay Luxrays coming through next with Keldeo, of course. Keldeo is a tier 1 Pokemon. Is going to fall into their free slot here. Keldeo is an absolute monster, hitting things incredibly hard with its really good speed stat and, of course, its special attack, Scald, Hydro Pump, Icy Wind, and I believe it also has Secret and Sacred Sword, so can hit pretty hard from, hit physical defenders, special defenders because of its fighting type moves. I personally think Keldeo is a little bit one-dimensional, but it is one of the better Pokemon in the OU tier in Smogon format, but it's going to be interesting to see how it performs in the counter team format, as I'm not entirely sold on it.
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's a one-trick pony. Oh my god! Wow, okay,
I think
so
we're going to be actually joined here by Michelle for this pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Hi guys, thank you so much. Oh.
Go on, you're talking.
For having me. I chose Granbull because I'm really excited. It is a Cleric and it is also a healer, and it completes my Intimidate core, which I'm really excited about.
Awesome, awesome. And you're actually going to have the wheel pick here momentarily, so you might as well just stay on here. So we just finished up round 6, guys. We have made it through 6 rounds, so we're more than halfway through the draft. And I do just want to touch on something briefly that Elliot mentioned in his last pick here. We did have to make a slight exception to the draft with having 24 teams and having all the tiers broken out the way they did. Once we've gotten down to about 3 or 4 Pokemon left in the tier 1, we did allow for, I believe, one coach, Elliot, and potentially another coach in the future. I'm not sure what's going on with the drafts, but we have kind of opened things up a little bit and allowed people to take Pokemon in a lower tier, tier 2, to count for their tier 1s. We did that to basically to avoid forcing teams to draft things that they otherwise might not want. We as a league decided that that was relatively fair, so it shouldn't make too much of an impact in the draft. It's not actually an advantage to anything. In fact, he's sacrificing his tier 1 and grabbing a second tier 2 to give himself something that he feels a little bit more comfortable with. So again, we discussed that as a league, and we felt that that was the most appropriate way to go through, as there was only so many Pokemon in each tier, and we have the biggest league that I think that is done in this format with 24 teams. So I see in the chat, dude, just to clarify what a cleric is a Pokemon that carries the move Heal Bell or Aromatherapy to heal off status conditions from the rest of the Pokemon, if anyone's confused about that. But I think it's time for us to jump right into round 7. I'm going to be joined with Joe for this round, I believe. But I believe we have Michelle here to talk about her first pick. So Michelle, whenever you're ready, you can start talking about your first pick.
Okay, so for this pick, I decided to draft Reuniclus. And I'm really excited about Reuniclus because it's also a great trick room user. It is special. It's got a lot of bulk. It can take some hits. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be using Reuniclus in this draft because my assistant code is actually very good at trick room too. So hopefully maybe that can come into play sometime during the season.
Yeah, I was kind of pissed that Reuniclus got sniped. I think I was going for it late this round, so I waited too long, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, Reuniclus is a very, very good Pokemon. In fact, one of the better Tier 2 Pokemon, I believe, in my opinion. I'm surprised it's made it all the way to round 7 here. We got the Tampa Bay Luxrays coming through, picking up the Tier 4 monster, but huge fire weakness. And now I see the Chandelure pick making a little bit more sense. Escavalier coming through, a very, very hard-hitting bug-type Pokemon, but does leave a little bit to be desired with that low speed stat and that 4 times fire weakness.
That's still a great combo, though. Baiting in the fire and then going into your Flash Fire Chandelure. Great pick, absolutely. This thing can take hits from pretty much everything else fairly well. So it'll be interesting to see how people play around that. You're really going to want to take out that Chandelure before you try to handle this Escavalier at all.
Yeah, we got the next pick coming through. Elliot is going to pick up a Defogger in Tier 4 Skuntank. Elliot, if you're here, tell us about Skuntank.
Well, Skuntank can work really well, especially with that dark type ability. Not the dark type, type. If anything is going to go with Psychic, you can just switch into this thing. And it's great because it's, like you said, it's a Defogger and it can do multiple things. And, I was honestly really, really sniped with that Granbull pick. I was actually going to go with the Granbull, but, Griselda took that. So I decided to go with my Defogger right here, and it's Skuntank.
Yeah, I like Skuntank. It does have the ability to Pursuit Trap. Does, of course, get Poison Jab and some Dark-type coverage, not to mention the Defog, and it's not weak to Stealth Rocks. Golden State GoGoats picking up some more bulk here. We got Goodra coming through with that impressive 150, I believe, base special defense. But do not forget that Goodra can be offensive for both the physical side and the special side, getting coverage moves like Power Whip, like Outrage, like Muddy Water, Draco Meteor, Sludge Bomb, Thunderbolt. It gets a ton of moves, a plethora of moves, and it's going to be interesting to see how Golden State uses Goodra this season.
Are there 7 picks of bulk up on the board there? My lord. How is that's the only thing that concerns me with this pick is there isn't a whole lot of speed. There isn't a whole lot of utility. It's very much just heavy bulk and kind of a stallish set. So it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, we've got the, I definitely agree with you there. We'll see if they pick up some speed and offense in the future. Radioactive and the Hawluchas coming through with Hoopa, regular Hoopa form as their free pick. A Tier 3 pick that has pretty much been untested in the Draft League format. It's going to be up to Brady this season to prove why it should be not in Tier 3. It's going to be very interesting to see how Hoopa performs this season. I'm not too familiar with it, but I know it does have a couple big weaknesses, and it is a little bit slow.
It is a bit slower than Hoopa Unbound. It does have, I can't remember what the move is called off the top of my head. It's like Hyperspace Hole or something like that. It's a very powerful, unique move, so something to look out for.
Yeah, the Atlanta Braviaries is coming through with Emboar as their next pick. Big fire-type hitting monster here. One of the other fire fighting type starters. This thing absolutely wrecks teams with Reckless. This thing is a monster with Choice Band or Choice Scarf. You're going to want something to block this when you play them because the Braviaries are going to break holes with this Emboar.
Rex teams with Reckless. I see what you did there. Yeah, definitely. Plus you pack a Sucker Punch on the end of this thing. You can knock anything down. Even if it's got Focus Sash, doesn't matter. Just follow up with that Sucker Punch and down it drops.
Yeah, so we saw that pick coming through. The St. Louis Swamperts coming through. Not picking Politoed. Instead, they're going to pick Gothitelle once again. Not picking Politoed, but Gothitelle, the Pokemon that does have Shadow Tag. Shadow Tag is allowed in the NPA format, and Gothitelle is not banned. To clarify, I believe there is a typo on the screen. It is not Tier 5, guys. It does fall into the free pick, and it goes as Tier 2. So just to clarify, there's a little mistake on the layout here.
Part of me wonders if Corey is just trolling us, not picking Polytoad at this point.
Yeah, I
'Cause
know,
honestly,
right? Waiting for the Polytoad pick to come
he
through.
needs
to pair
that
with
drizzle.
Swampert. Yeah, but Shadow Tag is obviously very, very disgusting, but it is allowed in the counter team format, as you know your opponent has Shadow Tag Gothitelle at their disposal. The Apom's coming through with their next pick, actually going with Zoroark for their tier 4 pick. Very, very scary because it can be disguised as another Pokemon. So we'll see how Zoroark plays out this season.
Zoroark is very interesting. I don't know why, but the last couple times I've seen Zoroark, it never gets utilized, and I see it come out as its raw form. So I'm not really sure how Kyle's going to use it. It'll be really exciting to see it pop in as like someone think that the Tangrowth is coming in, or someone think that the Feraligator's coming in and kind of panic around that.
Or the
It'll be
Victini, which
interesting.
is what I'm actually thinking the most there.
Oh yeah,
Scaring-
for sure.
Potentially thinking a
Absolutely.
V-Create's coming, and then instead of getting whacked with a Dark Pulse could be very scary for a lot of Pokemon. Mega Pidgeot coming through here for the Castforms. One of the better tier 2 Megas in my opinion. Mega Pidgeot hits things with one move most of the time, and that move is Hurricane, but it can rip some holes through teams.
Yeah, Mega Bird Jesus is the bringer of storms, is the storm god. And all it can do is Hurricane, maybe a little bit of Heat Wave here and there, but in reality, you're still afraid of this thing just because of that stab Hurricane coming in with some confusion chance, and I do not want to deal with that.
There's a lot of speed and offense there with Talonflame, Latios, or Latios, I'm sorry, and the Bird Jesus. We got Uxie coming through for the Haunters here. Very, very good value tier 4 pick. That does get Stealth Rocks, of course, and those monstrous base 130 defense and special defense stats.
Yeah, absolutely. Uxie is a mon that I think doesn't get as much love as it deserves. It's a really strong utility, really strong defensive set. It can set up rocks, it can U-turn, it can just chill there and wall. Like, it has a lot of potential there, and it's kind of good to see it getting a little more love recently.
Yeah, I see a lot of people complaining in the chat about Shadow Tag being legal. Just to clarify, guys, the GBA format does allow Shadow Tag and has for 6 or 5 seasons, and there's never been abuse of Gothitelle being absolutely insane. So, we're kind of going off of the history of different leagues here to kind of make the justifications for certain things. Everything it could be subject to change in the future seasons. The New York Lynx coming through here with Rotom Mo or Rotom Cut form here. I really like this little guy at tier 4.
Yeah, absolutely. It can definitely set up with I think it gets Leaf Storm plus Volt Switch, so definitely something to be very afraid of. It can just Leaf Storm and then Volt on out if it's not packing any kind of choice weapon. So definitely something to be scared of.
Yeah, that Levitate ability really helps it out. Of course, it is pretty fast, and I think it's going to work pretty well with that scary defensive core of Scarm Bliss and of course, Manaphy.
Speaking of scary.
Yeah, Dallas Staraptors coming through with the Beast Toxic Spiking Ghost-type Pokemon, Cofagrigus.
Yeah, I ran Cofagrigus last year, bringing Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp. It's just an absolute monster. It can take hits like crazy. It can basically make you regret sending whatever you sent in against it, and it's just able to shut down a lot of threats. Throw on a Shadow Ball as well for a little bit of stab damage, and it's just something to watch out for. This thing's mean.
Yeah, I love T-Spikes with Hex or Will-O-Wisp with Hex. A great Pokemon here. In fact, I think a very underrated Pokemon. Cobalion coming through for the Los Angeles Klefkis, rocking that base 108 speed stat. Of course, hits pretty hard and can, I'm sorry, it doesn't hit very hard, but it can set up with Swords Dance, and it does get Volt Switch as well.
Yeah, and on top of that, if you expect your opponent's going to come in with a knockoff, you can always send it in for that Justified bonus and then really hit them hard after that. So definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah, it's got really good bulk, and that speed stat really kind of pairs nicely to make Cobalion a pretty good Pokemon. Again, kind of trying to shore up that fairy weakness that we've seen the Klefkis already show. It's a neutral hit, but it does have that Iron Head and a really good speed stat. Baltimore Blaziken's coming through with Gyarados as their next pick. Regular Gyarados rocking that Intimidate or the Moxie Dragon Dance setup sweeper. This thing could end up being pretty effective, but it does open up another electric weakness with the Slowking.
Yeah, I'm honestly not quite sure why he's going for that much of a common weakness. That's generally something that you try to mitigate, but Gyarados can absolutely make up for that with its speed and power, so it'll be something to look out for sure, and hopefully he's not bringing both the same week, but, if he is, all power to him.
Yeah,
maybe he brings Rain Dance, I don't know.
A team really to look out for is the next pick here, the San Diego Charizards, picking up Mienfoo, a regenerating fighting beast here.
Mienshao.
Mienshao, I'm sorry. Mienfoo, I play Little Cup. Mienshao coming through here with the regenerator, of course, does get Reckless for that, I think High Jump Kick gets boosted. Fake Out for priority. This thing is a monster. It can destroy teams.
Yeah, and then a lot of times people will bring Drain Punch just to keep you honest. So if you're trying to go for that Protect to kind of take out the High Jump Kick, it doesn't care. It just goes to the Drain Punch and punishes that relatively well the following turn. So definitely big threat here.
All right, so we actually have the mascot snipe here. Blue's mascot is Whimsicott, and Whimsicott is going to be taken here as the third free pick for the Huntsville Houndooms. Fairy grass-type Pokemon, so a big weakness to poison there. But the nice thing about Whimsicott is it does have the Prankster ability, and it does get Moonblast, Giga Drain, and can run a couple cool sets with Stun Spore and Encore.
Yeah, definitely. Prankster T-Wave on this thing is so scary. Then you can just start moonblasting for days. This thing's got a lot of power, a lot of ways that you can kind of torment your opponents through the Prankster ability. So definitely something to be afraid of.
All right, so Whimsicott is our next pick here. We've got the Landorus actually coming through next. Los Angeles Landorus picking up regular Metagross, and I'll be honest, this was definitely on the top of my list of Pokemon to draft in this next coming round. Metagross is going to be the next pick for the Landorus.
Yeah, absolutely. The Metagross threat here, definitely something to look out for. It has a lot of power through Meteor Mash, even though, you know, it's not Mega Metagross, so it's not going to be able to just go to town on everybody. It's still something to watch out for sure. Throw on an Assault Vest if you want, and it can be another threat to look out for sure.
Yeah, Metagross is a very, very good Pokemon, even as it's not a Mega. It does hit really hard, and don't forget about that priority Bullet Punch coming off, I believe, 135 base attack stat. Here's a pick I'm a little bit surprised to see another Tier 5 Pokemon going. Lanoon is going to be going for the Boston Celebis.
Lanoon. The only thing I can think of with this would be Belly Drum E-Speed, but I mean, unless you're going for, I mean, even still, this thing gets two-shot, if not one-shot, by a lot of things, especially if you cut it down to half health with the Belly Drum. So I'm not really sure what this pick was for. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't have any other major threat moves other than Belly Drum E-Speed.
Yeah, it's got E-Speed. It does get Seed Bomb as well.
That is
grass
true.
Types, but otherwise, I've never actually seen that Pokemon drafted. But we'll see how it plays off with the Celebis. The Dunsparce coming through next with their big pick here, Tier 4 Monster Pangoro, which in my opinion could be very effective in the Draft League format as there is no HP Fairy, and if your opponent doesn't have a good Fairy type, this thing could break down some walls.
Yeah, honestly. Plus, I've been noticing a lot of teams going with the common fighting and dark type weaknesses here. So if Pangoro is able to come in, it can just start cleaning out multiple Mons at a time. So we might see a couple, 2, 3, even 4 kill sweeps in the future here.
Yeah, not to mention it's got access to one of my favorite personal moves in Parting Shot. Very, very cool. But again, we're starting to dive really into some of those lower tier Pokemon as the rounds move on here. New Jersey NEWCOMER and Coach Blue is actually going to pick up Lapras as his Tier 5 pick, which can be a Dragon Dancing variant or just a support set with Water Absorb.
I know it's definitely a lower tiered Mon, but Lapras is definitely something that's kind of underrated in my opinion. It can go for Dragon Dance and set up and start hitting people over the head with Body Slam, can freeze dry, can do a lot of different things like that. Plus it's very bulky on the side, so definitely something that, you know, as weird as it is to take this early, it's definitely not bad for the tier that it's in.
Correct, and your pick is next. Another Tier 5 Pokemon coming through as we see the coach is starting to dive deep. Tell me about Sandslash, Joe.
I needed a Rapid Spinner, and most of them were off the board. It's about as simple as that. all I had left was Sandslash, and then I think maybe like I honestly I can't even think of what was left at this point. I needed the Rapid Spinner. I don't have a Defogger. I need something to be able to come in and you know, come into the Focus Sash if need be and just Rapid Spin and die. I don't care. I just need to be able to handle that.
That is true. Fair enough. Fair enough. You got to get those rocks off the field, especially for your Rotom Heat there. Next pick coming up is going to be the Houston Raichus, and they're going to pick up regular Swampert. Of course, sporting that 4x grass weakness. Kind of another grass weakness to go with the Rotom, but does patch those up nicely with the Thundurus, the Latias, and the Typhlosion. So quite a dynamic team here. I don't know how much I really like Swampert, but we're starting to see a lot of the picks, the better picks in each tier start to go. So Swampert's going to be their next pick.
Yeah, and you got to remember, that's just what happens when you have 24 teams. We got your pick coming up next. I'm curious to see what you're going for.
So I finally picked up some offense with Thundurus, Therian Form, and Entei. So my next pick here, after I got my Regenerator Core, of course, I am going to go with another Fairy type. There's not many left. I'm going to grab an offensive monster that is regular Gardevoir. Now, regular Gardevoir does sport 80 base speed, I believe, and 125 special attack. So even though it doesn't have that Hyper Voice Pixelate that regular Mega Gardevoir does, regular Gardevoir does still have some potential in terms of an offensive Pokemon. It should not be slept on offensively, in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Gardevoir fell all the way down to, what, round 7? It's definitely something that you stick choice specs on it, and it can just go to town on people just as well as its Mega Form can. The only problem is it just can't switch moves. But, I mean, to be honest, you just go with either Hyper Voice or Psychic, and you can just wreck people.
Yeah, the last pick of round 7 coming through from the Cincinnati Crowbats is going to be Flareon, diving deep into Tier 5 here. Flash Fire or Guts boosted with Facade or Flare Blitz. Flareon is not a joke anymore now that it has Flare Blitz, but I'm not sure how much I like it in the 7th round.
Yeah, very interesting. I feel like it was picked a bit early. It probably could have been picked up 2, maybe 3 rounds later, and it wouldn't have been much of a problem there. But still, definitely going with a Toxic Orb set or something like that. It can do a lot of pain to people with Facade or anything like that. So not a terrible pick.
Yeah, so I think we're going to jump into round 8 here, guys. We are doing 11 rounds total through this draft here today, guys. I am going to take a quick 1-minute break here, Joe, if you want to discuss with Elliot over the last round and what we've seen so far. But I'll be back here in a minute as my webcam is being all sorts of crazy. I got some technical issues I got to address.
All right, no worries. What's going on, Elliot? What did you think out of round 7 here? What are some major threats that you're seeing?
Wow. All right. Well, out of round 7, honestly, there were kind of just picks that were thrown out there. Pangirl for sure is going to be something that we are all going to be afraid of if we do not have a fairy type Pokemon. And currently, unfortunately, I don't really have any fairy types to combat that personally. So that's going to be a huge letdown. But on the surprise pick for this round was Linoon. I did not think that was going to be picked.
Yeah, I didn't see it really coming either, but who knows? Maybe we might be blown away by it. Maybe it'll be sent in at the right moment against, something only packing a ghost move or only packing set up or something like that, and then it just comes and cleans out with a stab E-speed. Who knows? I have seen it in lower tiers, but it will be interesting to see if it can pull that off in draft format. Not something that I'm sure it'll be able to do, but hey, who knows? Anything
Billy's
can
out
happen.
here. He's gonna surprise the world with these picks, man. We also got some cool ones such as Reunicorse, which is actually going to be very scary in my opinion. That thing is going to be really nice if it's used correctly. That's one of the Pokemon that if you don't use it correctly, it won't exactly be the best Pokemon out there, honestly. But if you use it correctly, it can be a huge threat and it can be a win condition for the whole entire team. And it's kind of bulky in the same exact time, so that's a good thing. Another Pokemon that is pretty damn nice is going to probably be that Gardevoir that Dan picked, because that thing can get Will-O-Wisp. It's a great fairy type Pokemon. You can run Moonblast, Psychic, or even Psyshock, and it can do more than people give it. So that's gonna be pretty nice, and that was a great pick in general.
All right,
Yeah,
guys.
definitely.
Sorry, I'm coming back. I'm back now.
So are we just turning off the webcam? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, I have to kind of just break down the fourth wall here, guys. The sun is at the exact point where it hits my webcam and messes everything up. So I can't use my webcam for this next round, and it'll be back after that.
Oh no,
it's just really awkward. It just happens to be the sun is just coming through the blinds just exactly. Anyway.
Oh no.
Okay.
Looks like you're on the beach. All right.
I know. Are you guys ready to jump into round 8 here, guys?
All right, I'll back out for now. See you guys next round.
Pokemon Sun and Moon confirmed here. Jumping into round 8, guys, is going to be the first pick for the Cincinnati Crowbats, which is going to be Stoutland.
Wow, that's an interesting Pokemon, especially since they don't have anything that can really strive off of having this sand up. I don't know. I can't really put words together for this pick, honestly. What do you think?
If anything, this thing was just a snipe for someone else who would have had sand with Hippowdon or Excadrill or something like that. So interesting pick. We'll see how it kind of plays out. Maybe they have some ideas up their sleeve. Got to give, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I'm excited for my next pick here, as I just picked Gardevoir, and I got some weaknesses I need to address, and I am going to pick up a little bit more offense. A Pokemon that I'm actually really comfortable using is going to be Scolipede here, and a lot of people might be surprised to see this pick. I've used it in a different league that's not on YouTube called the aDrive Battle League, and I've done really, really well with this Pokemon. I love it. Sets up hazards, both spikes and toxic spikes. It gets speed boost, gives me a really fast Pokemon with 112 base speed, and I absolutely love Scolipede, one of my favorite Pokemon from a design perspective, and I think I'm going to show how good this thing is this season.
I definitely saw you put in work in that in the AABL, so I'm not surprised by you picking this thing at all. And Baton Pass also is a huge threat, and just a great Pokemon in general with just that typing.
Exactly. So we have the next pick coming through. The Houston Raichus is going to be picking up Primeape as their next pick, and we're going to see how Primeape. Well, what do you think about Primeape as a Tier 5? A pretty hard-hitting fighting type, but does leave a bit to be desired, as it doesn't have the greatest speed stat or the greatest attack stat.
It has a good move pull. The thing with it is that it's kind of, obvious of what it's going to do within its moves and whatnot, and also it's pure fighting, so you have that, not so defensive price that you would probably want to have, but it's great for hard hitters, to just hit hard with close combat and whatnot, and if it's a late game type of, scenario, it would be nice to have.
And Joe is going to pick up the NU Mew here, Mesprit in Tier 4. Joe, if you're here, tell us about Mesprit.
Yeah, Mesprit, I'm not really too familiar with Mesprit, to be perfectly honest. This one was definite advice from my assistant coach, Ender Films here. It was telling me that, basically just straight versatility. It is the NU Mew. I haven't really used one personally, but it'll be interesting if I go for setup. I go for, some hazard control, something like that. I'm really not sure. It'll be something to experiment with.
Yeah, I just want to address a comment in the chat here. People are asking about the baton pass clause. We do follow Smogon rules for this for the most part. So passing along speed boosts with other boosts are not allowed. But speed boosts themselves can be passed. So Skulpede, in my opinion, does still have viability. The New Jersey Nidokings coming through with their next pick. It is going to be Delphox as a Tier 4. And I actually think Delphox is a lot better than people give it credit for.
I mean, yeah, it has some decent speed. It has the Fire Stab. It has Grass Knot, even has a Psychic Stab, of course. And it's just a great Pokemon. You can also sub Calm Minds with this thing, so it can do more than people give it. And it can pretty much just, if a Ground type or Rock type or even a Swampert comes in, Grass Knot's going to destroy that thing.
Yeah, we got the Dunsparce coming through, taking a little bit of pressure off their Mew to Defog. They pick up a Tier 5 Rapid Spinner, similar to Joe picking up Sandslash last round. Claydol coming through, which is by far one of the biggest setup fodders in the game, but it does get Rapid Spin, does get Stealth Rocks, and has some decent utility, not to mention dual screens, but a bit of a knockoff weakness.
A huge knockoff weakness, but of course, with the ability, it can take care of the ground types and whatnot. So not really the worst chip pick, honestly, but hey, it has the Rapid Spin, and he kind of needed that. So you gotta take what you got. You gotta take what you gotta take.
Yeah, the next pick coming through is going to be a Dusk Noir, I believe, for the Celebis. The Ghost-type Pokemon, one of the better spin blockers in the game, so to kind of complement some potential hazard setting later on in this draft here. But Dusk Noir is very slow, but it can hit pretty hard with its with a couple different coverage moves.
Yeah, also can get Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, moves like that. Of course, Dusknoir can work better with that, but you know what? This is a good Pokemon, great pick for the team, as they kind of needed this type of Pokemon to, be out there. Also gets Spin Blocker like you suggested, so that's pretty nice.
We see a defogging Pokemon here in Tier 4. The Landorus are going to pick up Flygon, the Pokemon that wishes it had a Mega Evolution. Flygon does get access to a number of different coverage moves, including ground moves, fire moves, dragon moves, obviously, U-turn for utility, and it does get hazard removal through defog. Very, very good pickup here as the hazard removers are starting to become a little bit more thin.
Yeah, I would say it's also great because, he does have Mega Tyranitar, does have Metagross, so this thing having, Levitate can work out in its favor. But of course, you already had Tornadus, you already had the Omega, so not too much of a thing to worry about for him. But a good pick for the team, and like you mentioned, a good defogger.
Yeah, this is one of the Pokemon that the Huntsville Houndooms are going to pick up next, and it's one of the Pokemon that I'm actually looking forward to seeing this season to see how well it does, because I've wanted to draft this Pokemon for a long time. That is Porygon Z. Adaptability Tri-Attacks do a lot of work, and Hyper Beams do even more. What's your kill prediction for this thing through the 13 weeks of the season?
I would say it's going to rack up at least 15, because this thing is a monster. I've used it before. If you Scarf with Tri-Attack, it can be just threatening, honestly. The only thing that can really stop it are Ghost-type Pokemon, so if you have any Ghost-type Pokemon, you want to bring it this week, because this thing is going to come in, and it also has a really great move pull in general. But next pick comes in with the Heliolisk, which is a Pokemon that I was actually looking forward to possibly drafting myself, but InsaneVampaneze takes over here. Normal, electric, so it has that Hyper Voice Stab, it has that T-Bolt, Volt Switch, it also has Dry Skin, so it can take advantage of that, so a great pick over here. What do you think about it?
I think it's very interesting. He does have Sand Veil ability. Do not forget that. That Sand Veil could pair nicely with Hippowdon to give him a little bit of dodging skills here. Heliolisk is very, very fast. I believe rocking 109 base speed with the moves Surf and Hyper Voice and Thunder coverage. Obviously, Electric, Volt Switch, and Thunderbolt. Baltimore Blaziken's picking up one of my personal favorite Pokemon that I never talk about is Drapion here. Knockoff. It gets Toxic Spikes. It gets Whirlwind as well, so it can phase people out. And Drapion's a really, really unique Pokemon, only being weak to Ground type, which maybe Gyarados and Gligar can patch those weaknesses.
For sure. It's a great Pokemon. I was thinking about possibly drafting myself, but after taking Stun Tank just because of the defog, this thing got taken next, and it's a good Pokemon, like you mentioned, and it can do a lot, and also just having one weakness is great. But the next pick, kind of an iffy pick on his end. It's a great Pokemon. Weezing is amazing. It has Will-O-Wisp. It has Pain Split, Flamethrower, Sludge Bomb, Levitate. So it has basically the only weakness being Psychic. But him already having Muck on the team kind of leaves me scratching my head as well. Sure, this thing is a physical defensive beast, and Muck is a special defensive beast, but they can never really be brought together, in my opinion, the same
You're
exact
100%
week.
right. They can't be brought together, but I think what the Klefkis were trying to do here is just patch up that fairy weakness. Scrafty, Sceptile, and Terrakion are all weak to fairy types, so Muck and Weezing give him two options to kind of counter those fairies. I don't know why both in the same team, but there is free agency that could adjust the teams later on. The Dallas Staraptors picking up the next pick here. Magmortar, tier 5, heavy hitter, big coverage moves, or a lot of coverage moves, big move pool, but that speed stat tends to let it down a little bit.
That's why people usually scarf it, but that's what people usually expect, either specs or scarf or even life for. But like you mentioned, speed stat is probably its worst set, but a great move pull, and typically can cover itself well with whatever it can get.
Yeah, it's got Thunderbolt, and I believe it's got grass coverage through Energy Ball. It also gets, obviously, I think it gets fighting type coverage and obviously fire. We've got the New York Lynx picking up Deontay here as one of their free picks for tier 4 or tier 3. I can't remember. But Deontay rocks impressive defenses, gets Stealth Rocks, does get Moonblast and Diamond Storm, and gives him a fairy type Pokemon, which they might have been really looking for.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it just because of how frail it is. One, single steel type move will obliterate it, and also that 150 special defense, 150 defense is kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really phase me that much just because of that H being 50. So this thing isn't really that great, but it works well with this team if you needed a fairy type Pokemon. But for the next pick, the Hampshire Hunters select Caracosta. What do you think about Caracosta?
Caracosta is a very interesting Pokemon, and again, we're going to see some of the deeper picks here coming through as we close out this draft. Caracosta is in tier 5, obviously does have the ability to set up those Stealth Rocks, can hit pretty hard from the physical side. I believe it obviously gets Shell Smash as well, so it could be one of those Shell Smash sweepers, and most certainly if a team doesn't prepare for this thing could end up sweeping.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an iffy. I'm not really a huge fan of Pokemon that are water rock, but hey, that's not bad. But anyways, the next pick comes in with a Lancaster Castforms selecting Combuskin. So this thing's pretty obvious what it's going to do. It has speed boost, it's Eviolite, and basically just going to be baton passing, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it can't baton pass those attack boosts with the speed boost, but it does get speed boost, and this thing with an Eviolite can be relatively bulky. I haven't ever seen it do too many things in the Draft League format. I never see it put in too much work, but who knows? This is why the Draft League format is probably the best format to watch, because it gets really exciting. People bring different sets, unique Pokemon. Speaking of unique Pokemon, a Pokemon I'm pretty familiar with is actually Kecleon, the tier 4 monster with a great special defense stat, pretty good attack stat, and the ability Protein, which of course is what got Greninja banned to Ubers through that ability, being able to change its type every turn, getting some priority with Sucker Punch and Shadow Sneak, not to mention the elemental punches, does get knockoff, it does get Stealth Rocks, and it's got a lot of different options here. So I personally really like Kecleon, but I feel that its speed stat can tend to let it down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it sure has priority, but yeah, the speed stat's not really that great. But also it's Power Up Punch, so it can bring up that attack stat very, very well. So great Pokemon. And the next pick comes in with the St. Louis Swampert selecting Moltres. And I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of Moltres just because of the Stealth Rocks, and him already having Dragonite and Tornadus being weak to rocks leaves this thing to be kind of an iffy pick, really.
Yeah, but the thing that does get is I believe Moltres does get the Hurricane move. So if he drafts Politoed, he will be in good shape because he'll have Hurricane Moltres, which does get that flying type stab paired with Mega Swampert. So I'm really waiting to see that Politoed pick come through. Moltres is one of those Pokemon that really needs rapid spin support, but that's going to put a lot of pressure on that Fortress. The Atlanta Braviaries is picking up tier 4 Pokemon Chinchino here, obviously rocking that 115 base speed stat. Flinch Chino is an absolute nightmare with King's Rock, but this thing's got Skill Link, so it's hitting 5 times every time.
Yeah, it's kind of a one-dimensional Pokemon, but at the same time, it outspeeds most things, so it can, even if it's, one-dimensional, put in a lot to work. But if you're going against, a Pokemon that has a team that has Conkeldurr, then you do not want to bring this thing at all.
Yeah, this thing, it can put in some work, though, and like I said, it's pretty frail, but it does get the pretty good base speed, and it gets U-turn and stuff, too. Radioactive coming through with his next pick, the tier 3 physically offensive monster with guts or no guard. No guard Fissure's coming, baby, and Machamp is here.
Machamp is a great Pokemon. I actually underestimated it a little bit in the previous battles that I've had with it, and it can put in the work with that humongous attack stat, and this is the move play having knockoff. I'm pretty sure it can also learn EQ, and moves like that. It also can get no guard, dynamic punch, so it can put in the work in that aspect, and yeah, I mean, it's a good pick for sure.
Yeah, I like it. We got the Golden State GoGoats coming through still with the bulk, but they're going to be bringing... Guys, just to clarify, no guard fissure is not allowed, by the way. No one-hit KO moves. That was a joke. Crystal comes through here. The shell-smashing, hazard-setting monster, of course, gets that sturdy Custap Berry. Was released about a year ago, actually. Surprisingly, I know that. And this can set up spikes and stealth rocks. Get those hazards right up on the field right away. Or it could be a shell-smashing variant. Hit things really, really hard once it gets that shell smash off. Not smash, shell smash. Said it wrong earlier. Anyway, tell me about Crustle.
Like you mentioned, you kind of cover everything with it. You can get X-Scissor, you can get Rock Slide or Stone Edge, you can get EQ.
Talk about your pick. You got Lantern.
So I was really looking to get an electric type Pokemon. Lots of them were taken away, so I decided to take Lantern. This thing is beautiful just because it can get Volt Absorb and Water Absorb. I know I already have Vaporeon, but this thing can, trick the opponent pretty much thinking, hey, is he running Water Absorb, is he running Volt Absorb, and it's just a great Pokemon, really kind of bulky in ways, and can get Volt Switch, and I'm a huge fan of Lander. It's one of my favorite Pokemon, so I'm a bit biased with my selection, but I do like it as my tier 5 pick.
I dig it, man. I dig it. I really like Lantern. Speaking of bulky waters, with that Water Absorb, the Tampa Bay Luxrays are going to pick a Pokemon that I've wanted for a long time. Didn't fit on my team this season, but Jellicent coming through with the spin blocking potential. Obviously is very bulky. Does get Will-O-Wisp, Hex, can be a Trick Room setter as well. Water Absorb, very good special defense stat, and I've actually really liked Jellicent, but sometimes it's forced to run Cobra Berry.
Yeah, it's just for that knockoff, you got to run some sort of Berry, and Jellicent, just a very good Pokemon, has the stabs working for it, has the Will-O-Wisp, I believe, as well, so it's great in that aspect. And with the next pick, the Adelaide Umbreons to wrap up the round, select Rotom, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what the people even call it. Rotom Spin, Rotom Fan. Yeah. I don't even know, but it's Rotom Spin in this, and it's a good Pokemon. I mean, it's kind of redundant with its flying ability, and flying type and its Levitate ability, but it has the Air Slash, and has all of the other things that Rotoms pretty much do every single time with the Volt Switch, T-Bolts, and it's a good pick.
Yeah, I dig it. I really dig it. And here we're looking at the summary here for round 8. Elliot, aside from yourself, who do you think got the best pick overall in round 8?
Well,
it's obvious.
Well, I'm not even going to say I had the best pick over there. I like it for my team. Porygon Z, I think, was the best pick, because I'm a little bit biased. I've used Porygon Z before. It's a great Pokemon. I was thinking about getting it for my own team, so of course a little bit more bias over there. But, it just runs, it has such a good move pull. You can just, run. You can even run a Life Orb, Nasty Ball on it. You can run Choice, Scarf, Try Attack, just about speed. Like so many Pokemon has that base 90 speed stat and adaptability for Try Attack, so it's great in that aspect. What do you think, though?
I got to give some props to that Scolipede pick. I think that was a great pickup. But in all honesty, I really like the Jellicent. I think Drapion can put in a lot of work as well. And I don't think anyone should be sleeping on that Delphox pick for the Nidokings. I think Delphox is a lot better than people give it credit for. I think it's overshadowed. I think a lot of times Pokemon get a lot of flack for their design, and I personally think that Delphox's design leaves a bit to be desired, but from a competitive perspective, it can put in some work here. But I think it's time in just a moment for us to jump into round 9, guys. Just a reminder, you can check out the NPA draft and the NPA Twitter. I believe we should have those commands in the chat. Exclamation point. You can type in the commands for every specific team here. So exclamation point Cub Choose will get you to Elliot's Twitter. Exclamation point Metapods will get you to mine. Exclamation point Klefkis, that'll take you to the Klefkis, etc., etc. So be sure to use those in the chat to find your favorite coaches, of course. And I hope you guys are excited for the NPA Season 2, which will be starting next week. Each coach will be posting their matches to their respective YouTube channels. So definitely make sure to subscribe to all the coaches for some excellent content, some excellent battles, and some really unique stuff. I'm really excited to jump into this season, guys, and one of the reasons why I wanted to join this league is because I felt like we had a great group of people, and I think we're going to bring some really exciting content to the YouTube scene in the competitive format. So I think Joe's going to join me here as we're going to start to round out this draft here. We got round 9, 10, 11 coming up, guys, over the rest of this stream here. And just a friendly reminder, if you are watching this stream right now and you have not done so yet, please make sure you guys hit that follow button for me if you haven't done yet, because I am a full-time Pokemon streamer here at Twitch on my personal channel here. So if you want to check out Pokemon content on the daily, I will be streaming here. So there's my shameless plug. My second one of the day, so don't mind me. But anyway, Joe, you ready to rock into round 9 here?
I'm ready, but quick word first. So once again, we do have 2 analyst positions open. We're going with a team of 5 this year. So if you have some analysis experience, we do have an app posted on the description of the announcement video. So go find that, go apply there, and either PokayTroll, Bulky Cotton Candy, or myself will be reaching out to you. Bulky Cotton Candy being our lead analyst. So get excited for that.
Definitely, guys. Definitely check all that stuff out. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming for the NPA this season. I think this is going to be a phenomenal season, a phenomenal league with some great people, some great content makers, and I'm really, really excited. So, ready to jump into round 9 here, man.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
I think these last 3 rounds are going to really define the teams, giving them the depth that they need. As I mentioned in the last round here, it's going to be very interesting. You might see some very surprising picks in before someone picks Budu or Sunkern. Let's go round 9. The first pick, I believe, is going to be the Adelaide Umbreons kicking us off here, and they're going to pick the rapid spinning tier 5 Pokemon, Torkoal.
Yeah, Torkoal, I've used it in PU. It's definitely something that can bulk pretty much any physical attack you can throw at it. Even an Earthquake, I think, is a 2-hit from most non-Tier 1 or 2 threats here. So Torkoal definitely going to be something that Chriselle will be able to use to her advantage. Kind of interesting with these next couple rounds. You said it was about depth. I think it's a little bit more about personality. What kind of bizarre sets, what kind of little things they can do to spice up their team with the lower tiers here. So really excited. I think we got the next pick coming in really quick here, which would... Ooh, speaking of personality, we got Exception coming in with Shuckle here. Honestly, I don't know what it is. I've never seen this thing work out properly against me. Like, I always seem to have like an Iron Head or something that can handle it, but it'll be definitely interesting to see. I know this thing has so many threats that it can do, so many moves, so many combos. So if you could speak a little bit to it, I think you know a little bit more about it than I do.
Stealth Rock, Sticky Web, it's scared of Encore, it's got Toxic, it's got Encore itself, so it can't be set up on. It does have a very, very low HP stat, but very, very good bulk. Never really seen it used too effectively, but it does give him some Sticky Web options. As Coach Elliott of the Chicago Cubs is going to come through with a great spin blocker, and I think one of the better, lower tier picks here, Miss Magius, with that 105 speed, special defense, and special attack stat. I really like Missy. What do you think, Elliott?
Maggie is awesome, and I used to run NU a lot, and this thing was a monster. You can run it under, pretty much a substitute, and you can just nasty pot away. You can get really, really nice moves, such as, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam even, and so many just awesome moves in general. And I'm really looking forward to using it, and I really needed a Ghost-type Pokemon because Sableye had to get taken a couple of rounds ago. So yeah, that's pretty much a pick.
So the Golden State Go-Goats coming through next, picking up their mascot with the Go-Goat, and I'm very, very surprised to see that they haven't picked a lot of speed yet. There's still no speed. I think the fastest Pokemon on this team right now is the base 100 Zapdos, but Go-Goats coming through as a Grass-type Pokemon might complement some of the other mons pretty well, but I don't know how well Go-Goat's going to perform in this format.
Makes me wonder if Jen's trying to go for a Trick Room, maybe pick up something in the lower rounds with Trick Room, because honestly, there's a lot of slow mons here, and if she is able to get that Trick Room up, a lot of these mons can go to town on pretty much everything here. Oh, look, we got Meloetta coming in here next pick. Interesting. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, Meloetta is one of those Pokemon that I actually scouted quite a bit for this draft, just because I think it's actually a lot better than people give it credit for. Being able to be both the special variant, with Relic Song and other type moves, Hyper Voice, etc., or you can run the Pirouette form, which just takes advantage of that Relic Song, turns into a physical attacker, and hits incredibly hard from both the physical side or the special side. So this is one of those Pokemon that has basically 2 Pokemon in one, but I've never really seen it used too effectively. So it's going to be interesting to see how Brady uses it this season, whether he's going to be able to take advantage of both forms of Meloetta. And here's one of the best Tier 4 Pokemon, in my opinion. Definitely a mon that I had on my radar. Miltank coming through for the Braviaries here. Great Cleric, having the ability to use Heal Bell, 100 base speed. It's got their Stealth Rocks as well to take some pressure off that Nidoqueen, and it can hit pretty hard with some Cursed Body Slams.
Honestly, I did it. Yeah, Cursed Body Slam is one of the most powerful things. I made a team around this. I think I ended up calling it Utter Demise, because Miltank is such a powerful threat in NU. It can use Milk Drink. It's got, Curse setup. It's got heavy stab damage, and then it has all kinds of utility on the side. So definitely something to look out for.
And rather than picking Politoed, these St. Louis Swamperts are going to pick Furfrou this time. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm picking on the Swamperts. I love them, really, I do. But Furfrou's coming through as their Tier 5 pick. I've never seen Furfrou used in the Draft League format, but that Fur Coat ability is going to be hooking up its defense and doubling it. But will it have enough attack options and support options to be an effective Pokemon in this format?
I played against Corey in a Wi-Fi battle where he brought a Furfrou, however you say it, and he brought Cotton Guard on the thing and got it up to +6 defense. The only reason it fell was because I had a +6 Haxorus, so
This thing can be pretty nuts, but the Anaheim Apom's picking up a very, very cool Pokemon here. Frostlass rounding out their free picks. Only, I think we actually got some spoilers potentially here. Ignore that. But we got Frostlass coming through as their next pick. Oh, there is a spoiler. Sorry. Frostlass coming through. This thing's get spikes, Destiny Bond. Obviously, the Ice and Shadow type stab. All that stuff. So this is going to be a very interesting Pokemon to see. Unfortunately, guys, with us putting together almost 300 slides as we're working through this draft here, there's bound to be some typos and little issues like that. My apologies, guys, but, you know, when we're dealing with this many slides, this was probably about 20 hours of work all coming to this with the templates and everything like that, so apologies for the little errors there.
Yeah, plus we're definitely over 98% accuracy here, so
yeah,
I mean,
we're doing pretty good.
We tried. The
Lancaster Castforms coming through with the Tier 4 Monster Rhyperior, not Fiperior, but it's okay. A little typo there. We're in a roll now. But Rhyperior is coming through. This thing is a monster, and its Solid Rock ability actually makes it so it can take moves like HP Ice and HP Grass, HP Water, things like that. So it's not necessarily one of those Pokemon that's just going to die because it's Rock Ground. It can hit really hard with that base 140 attack stat, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Heavy bulk there. And up next, we've got Tyrantrum coming in, another kind of a bulky sweeper. It usually doesn't have a lot of speed unless it's going with the Choice Scarf. But
or
that
Dragon
tough...
Dance.
Or Dragon Dance, that's true. That is also true. But it has that, I want to say Strong Jaw is its ability. So kind of got the really heavy Ice Fang, Thunder Fang, Fire Fang, any of that kind of thing. Really scary mon to be on the receiving end of. So
yeah, not to mention the fact that it does get Rock Head as well as another ability, and it hits with one of the hardest head smashes in the game. There are very few switch-ins for a Tyranitar here. I'm sorry, Tyrantrum. There's very few switch-ins for that, but Clinks are going to come through. The New York Clinks are going to be picking up Tangela as their next pick here. Not Tangrowth, but Tangela, the Eviolite little monster in NU and PU. This thing is an absolute monster, as I just mentioned, because it is so bulky. If your opponent doesn't have a knockoff user, this thing could actually put in some work. And do not sleep on its special attack stat. I believe it does have a pretty good special attack stat as well.
Bill, anything extra about Tangela here?
I just want to make this quick. This is not a joke pick because Tangela can one-shot Mega Slowbro pretty easily with Leaf Storm. So I'll leave it at that.
Wow.
There's the bold prediction there. Will Tangela one-shot a Mega Slowbro this season? I'm going to say no. But the Staraptors are going to come through with their next pick, Cradilly, the water-absorbing, stealth-rocking, grass and rock-type Pokemon Cradilly.
This is one of those mons that you can easily throw in at the end of the game and relatively stall out if you've handled most of its threats. It's really strong both defensively and special defensively, and is able to use Ingrain, I believe it's what it's called, to just heal constantly. So if your opponent doesn't have something super effective and it's down on its last leg, you can just kind of just clutch it out with Cradilly really well. So great pick by Luke there.
Yeah, we'll see how that pays off here. We got the Klefkis coming through. Picking up Spiritomb, Cotton. Tell me about Spiritomb, Joe.
Oh god, Spiritomb, Will-O-Wisp, Shadow Sneak, Sucker Punch. This thing is just scary. Oh my lord. Although on the plus side, and on the top of that, because of its typing, unless you have a fairy type, you will not have something super effective for this. The only thing, its only real Achilles heel is just its really lackluster HP stat. So even though it does have pretty good defense and special defense, you only need to beat it down so many times before it finally just cannot handle it and kaputs. So
yeah, this thing can set up. I just made a joke in the chat. I'm sorry. Let's just go to the next pick here. The Blaziken's coming through with their next pick, Virizion. The blistering fast 108 speed, I believe, grass fighting type Virizion here, which does have the ability to set up with a Swords Dance, hit hard with close combat and Leaf Blade. What do you think about Virizion?
Definite snipe. This was going to be my next pick because I needed a grass type, and this was the best thing on the board. So now I gotta find something else.
Yeah, we see as the draft progresses here, a lot of the really valuable Pokemon are starting to go. So people are starting to pick other things that they might not normally feel too comfortable with, but I do think Virizion is a great Pokemon. And one of the teams that I really look forward to seeing their draft pick here, Sneasel, coming through, one of the better Tier 5 Pokemon for the Charizards. So shoutouts to the Charizards picking up Sneasel to give them a little bit more speed and give them something to hit with hard with knockoffs.
Baby Thuggin, do not sleep on Sneasel here. Sneasel is one of the fastest, pre-evolution mons that you can have, and it's got a lot of coverage and a lot of ways that it can really come in and kind of shock some people with some of its power. So definitely don't sleep on little baby Sneasel here.
Yeah, the San Diego Charizards are looking like they have a very, very good team here, and I believe he was the winner last season, right?
Yeah, he won last season, so it'll be...
We'll see if he comes in second place to me. The Huntsville Houndooms coming through with their next pick, going to be Regirock. Very, very nice Tier 4 pick. Big bulk. Pure rock types are actually not too bad. He can hit pretty hard, does set up Stealth Rocks, but the big thing that holds Regirock back is this lack of reliable recovery outside of rest, but it can still manage to be an effective tank.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't quite see running a Resto Chesto set for Regirock here, because even if it does work once, it's not going to work twice, because you're not going to have that berry the second time around. And just because it's so slow, it's not something that's going to be able to get a big opportunity to do that. So
we got the Los Angeles Landorus coming through, picking up a speedy electric type, which are very, very valued in the draft league format. Regular Manectric fell to RU in the Smogon format. This thing rocks, I believe, a 105 base speed stat with a decent special attack. It does have Lightning Rod as well.
yeah, you also got to remember this thing. Oh yeah, the Lightning Rod makes it an excellent switch in, or it might be Volt. No, it is Lightning Rod.
Yeah,
is it
it's
Lightning
got
Rod or
Lightning
Volt
Rod.
Absorb?
Yeah, it's Lightning Rod.
Okay, I don't know. I thought it was Volt Absorb. Anyway, but it does have a very good switch in for other electric types, and even though it doesn't have the Mega, because I ended up taking that, it is still a very strong pivot and a very good special threat.
All right, so the Boston
he did it again.
The Boston Celebis coming through, picking Tier 5 Pokemon, and very interesting Pokemon, Shedinja.
He picked this last season. I honestly, I've debated SonicBrawler in this so much. He has kind of a very strong affection to using Shedinja in battle, even though one Will-O-Wisp, one Stealth Rock, one anything, and it's just gone. 2 knockoffs, it's gone. It does not have any sort of survivability in this format, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be very effective. We'll see. Over under, it dies more times than it actually gets to attack. I'm gonna say it's gonna die first. But we got the Dunsparce coming through here with Tauros. Very, very good lower tier pick. Great speed stat, I believe 110 base speed, maybe 115. But it does have the sheer force ability to power up those rock climbs to hit really, really hard from that normal stab. Don't forget the fact that it does get Intimidate as well.
And it also gets Zen Headbutt, if I am correct. Yeah, so it's got that fighting coverage as well. Yeah, definitely something to look out for, because it's got all of its bases covered.
Yeah, I really like that. And another pick I really like, and was definitely something I scouted for, but I went with Scolipede. We got a Selgor coming through here for the Nidokings, a very, very fast Pokemon with ability to set up spikes.
Yeah, and you also can't knock it's not Final Gambit. What's the move I'm thinking of where it basically
does get Final Gambit.
It is Final Gambit. Okay, I was mixing up that and one other. So definitely Final Gambit coming in if your opponent doesn't try to knock your health down right away. If you get that spike set up, you can just go ahead and Final Gambit and knock down huge threats down to little to no health, if not take them out. Kind of a suicide move right off the bat. So excellent suicide lead in Excelgor. Great pick.
Now you're gonna pick a regular Gallade here. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this one came down to needing, because Verizon was going to fill both my my grass and my fighting slots that I needed. I decided to go for a Gallade here, just because it's got, it covers that fighting type. It has the psychic type if I don't bring Mesprit along, and it can really handle a lot of different threats. Throw an Assault Vest on it. I do like throwing Assault Vest on a lot of things, in case you haven't noticed. But close combat, Psycho Cut, a lot of things like that. Good coverage, not the best pick I could have made, but all the way down at this format, I don't regret it.
Yeah, the Houston Raichus coming through next, picking up Malamar, a Pokemon that I've always wanted to see work in this format. That big U-turn weakness makes it potentially a little bit less effective than it otherwise could be, but I think Malamar can actually put in quite a bit of work, having that contrary ability similar to Superior, where it fires off moves like Superpower that actually boost its attack and its defense stat. This thing can be rocked especially bulky, and then use that Superpower to boost it up through that contrary ability. Not to mention good coverage through, I believe, Knockoff or Night Slash, Psycho Cut as well to give it that psychic coverage, and I believe it can also be a Trick Room Pokemon, and I believe its standard set is actually to run Rest here. But my next pick here, I needed to round out a couple different potential problems I had, and I wanted to pick up a Stealth Rocker that I felt was reliable, and a Pokemon that was used very effectively against me, so I wanted to try it out this season. So I'm going to pick up Druddigon as my next pick here. It's got the ability to use Glare to paralyze Pokemon. It's got Stealth Rock. Hits very, very hard with Sheer Force. That should not be underestimated, and I really like Druddigon, personally.
Yeah, offensive versatility. And quick mention back to Malamar there. Jared plays against Tesla first round, and Jared's got a team that's very weak to fighting Dark and Psychic, so that'll be interesting to play out for sure.
Yeah, so we're going to round out the last pick here in round 9, I believe. We've got Vanillux coming through here as the final pick of round 9 for the Cincinnati Crobats.
Vanillux. I have not seen this thing in draft format, I don't think. So I guess it gets Ice Shard and Freeze Dry? I honestly am not too familiar with the Ice Cream Sundae, so this will be interesting to see what it can do for sure.
Its biggest usefulness is actually the move Autotomize, which doubles its speed stat.
Ah,
lowers its weight.
there it is.
Yeah, and then it does have the freeze dry, of course, to hit those bulky waters. Super effective. Of course, Ice Beam, and I believe it does get Flash Cannon as well for steel coverage, or a steel type move. So very, very
that'll be
interesting.
interesting.
So we're looking at the round 9 summary screen here, Joe. Who do you think got the best pick in round 9?
Honestly, looking out here, I think the Lancaster Castforms got some pretty good bulk there with Rhyperior. Definitely a good pickup there. I'm liking the Miltank pick. I'm liking the Frostlass pick. I've used Frostlass myself. It's an absolute nightmare with the spikes and the Destiny Bond to just kind of troll around your opponent and get some setup going as well. A couple of interesting picks here were the Shuckle and probably Jen going with her mascot. GoGoat's a very strong Pokemon, but I just think on her team it didn't really have a place because there's already so much bulk.
Yeah. Is Elliot around? Elliot, you here? I just want to take a quick break. I just need a glass of water, if that's okay.
Yeah, me too, actually.
I'm here.
All right, Elliot, you give us your thoughts on the round 9. I'll be back in probably about a minute.
All right, yeah, I'll go grab my water after you do.
I'll go alone on this one then. So the interesting picks on this round were definitely, like Joe suggested, Rhyperior was really nice, and I also really do like the Gallade pick just because, if anybody does use knockoff, it can get some attack priority on that factor. And the Torkoal pick was kind of weird in my opinion. I'm not really sure about that. Sure. It's just too slow in my opinion. I'm not sure if even with a Shell Smash you can really do much with that, but yeah, does it even learn Shell Smash?
It really does learn Shell Smash. I used it once in NU format, or was it PU format? It's a pretty good wall in really low tiers, but it'll be really interesting to see if it can handle some strong special attackers. I think most special attacks will one if not two shot it from a tier 1 or a tier 2 just because of how lackluster its special defense is.
Yeah, and the Taurus pick is pretty nice just because it's very fast and very powerful. It's very hard hitting with a great move set, a great move pool in general, and that can really work well for the Duns Barcelonas. I was actually thinking about possibly picking that. I think it's definitely better than Bouffalon just because of that speed priority and whatnot. So yeah, those are my opinions on the this round. These rounds are very important, by the way, guys, for those that are watching. These are very, very important, so yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, all right, so I'm going to step out real briefly here, so if we fall behind on the Twitter, don't panic.
All right, so me and Elliot are going to take down round 10 here coming up, guys, and I think Joe made a very good comment last round saying, these are going to really define the personality of the teams, and I think one of the things that, we're focusing on here moving towards the last 2 rounds of the NPA is not only to round out our teams and balance the teams the best, but also to potentially throw in some fun picks as well. So don't be surprised if you see a little bit of some fun stuff coming through as we round out the last 2 rounds. But let me know when you're ready, Elliot. We can jump right into round 10.
I'm ready. Let's do this thing.
All right, man. So the first pick for round 10 is going to be Emolga, which is a Pokemon that you know very well, Elliot. Tell me about Emolga.
What? Why? This thing is garbage.
It gets motor drive. It gets motor drive.
I don't care. Have you seen those pitiful okay, enough for the bias. So this thing is actually decent just because it has the air slash flinching. Obviously, it has baton pass agility, and also it can have volt switch with a good speed. And also with the motor drive, obviously you can take advantage of that. The static. If you want to run static 1 week, it can be annoying, but obviously you're gonna always want more drive just to boost up that electric type moves. But it could definitely be good also because it's flying type, and just because any sort of ground types will come by, you can basically be immune to that. But with the next pick, here you go.
That's
go
me.
ahead,
I got
go.
Steelix, man. I'm grabbing regular Steelix as my tier 5 pick. This is going to give me something to kind of check those. It gives me another Stealth Rocker to go with Drotagon. Gives me a little bit more bulk, and you cannot forget about the fact that regular Steelix does have Sheer Force as its ability, so it does hit a little bit harder than it normally would. In fact, Pokemon like Nidoqueen are Pokemon that take advantage of Sheer Force just like Steelix can. So despite the fact that it is a little bit slower, this thing can put in a ton of work, and it does give me another Stealth Rock setter. Not to mention a Steel type, which can really, really help the rest of my team. The Houston Raichus are coming through with their next pick, grabbing the Grass Ghost Trevenant.
Great spin block, and also a great Pokemon to have that has the Harvest ability. So if you want to run Stealth Rock and whatnot, then what am I saying? The Citrus Berry. I was thinking about the S. So if you want to Citrus Berry on this thing and have it harvest, that's really nice. And also, even if you want to run Calm Mind 1 week, you can do that. It doesn't really have the best special attack for that, but you can definitely get the both for that. And Giga Drain also can make good use of it, as well as Horn Leech. So a good pick over there.
Yeah, the next pick coming through for Joe, the Seattle Seakings, he is going to be grabbing Ferroseed here, the bulky
Guess I got back
monster.
just in time.
There you go, good timing. Tell us about Ferroseed.
So Ferroseed, I've used Ferrothorn a lot. Ferrothorn was gone. I needed a grass type. I had low options. I'm not, you know, I don't mind this pick at all. It's got Leech Seed. It's got Gyro Ball. Since it's so slow, it can do a lot of things with that Gyro Ball. Very powerful attack. And on top of that, stick an Eviolite on it, and it's already really good defense, goes up even higher. And it can actually handle special attacks about as well as Ferrothorn.
There we go. So the New Jersey Nidokees are going to be picking up regular Kyurem here to give them a big, heavy hitter. Now, Kyurem is not as good as Kyurem Black in terms of how offensive it can be, but it is a pretty good value pick, I think, coming through the Tier 3. Rocks pretty good attack and special attack stats, and does hit pretty hard from both sides, of course, having the Dragon and, you know, an Ice-type stab moves.
Yeah, it's also great just because if you Scarf it, you can just run like Dracos, and it has lots of good, like you said, social attack. Also, if you want to run like a mix set even, you can do that. It's a good Pokemon in general, and will definitely be of good use to the team. But anyways, the next pick comes up for the Barcelonas. It comes through with the Hluchus set. So this thing pretty much is pretty obvious of what it wants to do, but do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, Hlucha has obviously the Unburdened ability, which is going to take advantage of trying to, activate some berries or something like that. It's got a really high speed stat, a little bit lacking on the offensive pressure though, so it really kind of does rely on Swords Dance to boost its attack stat to, respectable levels, but it does add a little bit of speed to this team, which already has a decent amount, but we'll see how it's utilized this season. The Boston Celebis are going to pick up one of the last fairies left in the draft, and that is going to be regular Mawile. Obviously gets the ability to set up Stealth Rocks. It does have the Intimidate or potentially Sheer Force, and it is Steel and Fairy type. Tell us about Mawile.
So Mawile isn't really the best Pokemon, but it's definitely great just to block off anything that wants to use a Poison type move, because this thing, does block off the Fairy super effective move, which it's because of the Steel type as well as the Fairy type being paired up with it. So it's good in that aspect. Not really the best in general, but it's gonna do its work whenever it can. And I'm feeling like he just took it just so nobody else can take a Fairy type. But the next pick, the Los Angeles Landorus take on the Infernape, which is pretty much one of the last tier ones that were available. So this is a great pick. Infernape can be ran both specially and physically, mostly ran physically for U-turn and whatnot, and it's just a great Pokemon. It can just be a really, really great wall breaker, and I don't know how it was there for that long. Personally, I think it's because people just thought of it as more of a tier 2 than a tier 1, but it was a great pick by Jerry.
It's kind of heartbreaking seeing Jerry take my mascot. That's all I'm gonna say.
There you go. Not to mention, it can be a really good lead, setting up Stealth Rocks and potentially carrying a Focus Sash. The Huntsville Houndooms coming through, picking up a great Pokemon in my opinion, and look out for this Pokemon to put in some work this season. The bulky Hariyama rocking a very impressive HP stat. Don't forget about its attack stat as well. The ability Thick Fat potentially as well to pair with an Assault Vest to make it a really good switch in for Ice or Fire type moves. And it's got priority. It's got Fake Out. It's got Bullet Punch for Fairy types. This thing can actually put in a good amount of work, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see Hariyama be one of the top kill leaders, through the season. It's actually a very good Pokemon.
Very underrated, very hard-hitting, and very, very defensive, especially with that Assault Vest like you mentioned. So, great pick over there. And the San Diego Charizards snipe me once again, taking the Braviary. So, this is actually a very good Pokemon. Not only the best, in terms of speed, but, of course, it's another Pokemon that's flying in normal, and it can take advantage of those, stabs and whatnot. Also, this thing, I believe, gets Tailwinds and can defog. I believe it can defog. I'm not 100% sure on that,
yeah,
but it's good in that aspect.
Yeah, it does.
So
have
it's a good pick.
And one of the good things about it is its Defiant ability and Sheer Force as well. That Defiant is going to kind of help him, help his team out from defog users trying to get a free defog on the field there. But we got the Baltimore Blazes coming through with a huge wall breaker. The Scrappy using Exploud, boom bursting opponents to potentially victory. We'll see how Exploud is used this season. It's a little bit slow, but it does hit incredibly hard.
And it basically can hit anything with that just because of its scrappy ability. It's kind of like, the one-dimensional Pokemon, because you obviously know when it's just going out that, it wants to basically just run Boom Burst, but it can always surprise the opponent and have a different move on it. So we'll see how Baltimore Blazers will take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. We've got the Los Angeles Klefkis coming through, picking up a very, very good Tier 2 Pokemon. I am surprised to see it fall this long. I think this is one of those Pokemon that often, like I said before about Delphox, gets kind of forgotten about because of its design. But Diggersby is a monster. It's got that huge power ability similar to Azumarill, and it's going to double its base attack stat, or double its attack stat, I'm sorry, not its base stat. It's going to double its attack stat. It hits incredibly hard with moves like Earthquake and Return, not to mention the ability to be a pivot Pokemon with U-Turn. It also gets Elemental Punches. I believe it gets Gunk Shot as well. This thing is a monster.
It's a monster and a half, and it's pure offense and a pure wall breaker. So that's a great pick. But the next pick, the Dallas Staraptors select Sharpedo. So this is regular Sharpedo, and it's a great Pokemon just because it has speed boost. The problem with Sharpedo is that it's just too offensive, and one shot, you can get one shot by so many different moves, whether it's effective or not, just because of how frail it is. But what do you think about Sharpedo?
Yeah, Sharpedo's really good. Like you said, that speed boost, it hits really, really hard. It could be a great kind of revenge killer in some ways. It does have coverage for fairies. It can be physical or special. It does get Dark Pulse and special moves as well as the physical side of things. And I've seen it used very, very effectively by Mr. Shady Penguin. So the New York Lynx are going to come through with their next pick, finally grabbing their Mega Pokemon. And they're going to go with Fabio himself, Mega Ampharos.
Well, from what you can tell on your Lynx, they have already, I believe 3 Tier 1 Pokemon, Skarmory, Hoopa-U, and Manaphy. So they had to take a lower tier Mega just to round out their free points, and that's what they did. And Mega Ampharos is a very good Pokemon. The only thing bad about it is that it has a low speed, and that's pretty much why I think it's, I believe, a Tier 3 Mega Pokemon, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And even then, it's Dragon Electric. It can get Dark Pulse. I mean, not Dark Pulse, Dragon Pulse. It can get, Volt Switch and other moves like that. So it's very good in that aspect. And with the next pick, the Hampshire Hunters select Noivern over here. So Noivern is a good Pokemon as well. Very, very speedy. And people tend to run specs on it just because of that lack of special attack. But what do you think about Noivern being selected over here?
Yeah, very good pick. Very, very fast Pokemon. Adds a little bit of speed to a team that's relatively slow otherwise. In fact, Noivern is the fastest Pokemon on this team, with Charizard being the second fastest. So look for the Haunters to pick up another fast Pokemon here moving forward, as it really makes a difference in this draft league format. I really, really like Noivern, and I think that was a good pick up there. Lancaster Castforms are going to be picking up the fighting Poison-type Pokemon. Toxicroak here obviously does have that dry skin if you want to use it to absorb those water-type moves, potentially helping out that Talonflame or something like that. But this thing gets some priority, and it's a pretty hard hitter, but it does lack a little bit from the defensive defensive stuffs.
Yeah. And I don't know, looking at the team, I guess, he wanted to pick this thing. It's break this Psychic by 4 times, but he also has Latios to kind of round that out. So it's not the worst pick ever. It's a good pick just to kind of bring it in, especially for water-type Pokemon and just for physical attacks. I think it can also be good for the special attacks. But the next pick, the Anam-A-Palm select Dragalge, I believe. So that's a pretty good pick as well.
Yeah, Dragalge hits incredibly hard, having that adaptability finally released. In ORAS, this thing can really destroy teams, and it's a great wall breaker. Not to mention the fact that it does have some utility by setting up potential toxic spikes. But that Sludge Wave, that Draco Meteor coming from the adaptability, it is going to be dropping Dracos all freaking day, and the Anaheim A-Palms might be able to take advantage of Dragalge's dual stab. Very, very unique typing in the fact that, obviously, fairies resist or are immune to the dragon-type moves, but those Sludge Waves are not going to be nice to them. The Swamper's coming through, not picking Politoed. Instead, they're going to pick Gourgeist here, and Gourgeist is going to come through as their Tier 5 pick. One of the things I really like about Gourgeist in the Draft League format is the fact that you can run any size you want. It's very similar to Meloetto in that you get kind of multiple Pokemon in the same one pick. So Gourgeist can be the small form, which has a really good speed stat. It's also got the bulky form, the super form, which is really, really bulky on the HP and attack side of things, and also has a pretty good defense stat. So we got the next pick coming up here, which is going to be the Atlanta Braviaries, and you can tell us about Luxray, Mr. Elliott.
Luxray is a bit of an iffy pick on my end because this thing does not have as fast of a base speed as you would think. This thing is not actually that fast at all. You can run it Guts though, or you can run Intimidate just to basically weaken the other opponent. I typically would probably want to run a Flame or Toxic Orb Guts just because you want to be as offensive with this thing as possible. Like I said, the only problem with it is that it's very, very, very slow, which is probably why it is on the PU tier. But they can take advantage of it, especially since, I don't know if he really has any other Legend-type Pokemon on his team, so it definitely does help him out with that.
Radioactive in the Iowa Hawluchas picking up a very good Tier 5 pick. Lee Vanny, a Sticky Webber with a decent speed stat. Big weakness to fire, but I think he could patch that up with some of his other Pokemon like that Blastoise, like that Tyranitar. Setting up that Sticky Web can really open the door, especially for, things like Machamp and T-Tar.
Yeah, it was one of the Pokemon that I was looking at a lot to be drafted. It's very good with the sticky webs that can make the opponent really, really slow, and this Pokemon in general is really, really fast, so we can really take advantage of that, and lots of stabs to take advantage with as well, with X's or Leaf Blade, I believe, getting as well. So a great pick by the Iowa Haluchas. And with the next bit, the Golden State GoGoats select Clang Clang to round out their last free pick, which is pretty much, you know what this thing wants to do. It's going to go in there, it's going to, get some shift gears up and then gear grind and everything, and, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Clang Clang, but what is your opinion on it?
I don't like it at all. That's my opinion. I drafted it once and dropped it. It's so one-dimensional, unfortunately. Like, I love its design. I love using it in NU. It's just very one-dimensional. It gear grinds, return, and shift gear. That's pretty much it. You can run Volt Switch on it, and then it's going to die. So the next pick here is going to be yours. You're going to grab Aerodactyl.
I picked Aerodactyl because I really need it in a flying type Pokemon. Not gonna lie, I have 2 levitators, and let's say I'm going against the Mold Breaker 1 week. If a trade happens or whatever, or if I'm in the playoffs going against Joe or someone else that may have extra or whatever, I do not want to deal with anything like that. So I got Aerodactyl, a very fast flying type Pokemon, and also can get really good moves. I have Tailwind as well, so that can really pass on to my other Pokemon in terms of speed, and it's a great leadoff Pokemon as well if I want to just stop some Stealth Rocks. So a great Pokemon just to fit on my team.
And there's a big snipe on my end here. I really wanted Ditto after it obliterated my GBA team a couple weeks ago. Ditto is a very unique Pokemon that can transform into the opposite Pokemon with that Imposter ability, and it does steal stat boost. So what Ditto does is it keeps your opponent from setting up on you, and that is a very, very special thing in the Draft League format, because your opponent, when you're planning for Ditto, you really don't want to bring setup sweepers, because if Ditto copies it, it could potentially counter sweep your team. So it's a very, very unique pick here. But we're going to be rounding out round 10 here in just a moment. The Adelaide Umbreons are going to pick Politoed.
Politoed has gone, so the Swampers cannot take that anymore for their potential rain team. And Dan is shaking his head in disbelief that this thing was taken before the Swampers can take it. So that's going to be an interesting pick. I'm not sure how they can really fit it on their team, but who knows what they can do with their next pick being the last pick of their whole entire team. And there's the last round happening next round, of course.
I'm just glad Politoed finally got picked. Shouts to the Toad for being epic with that drizzle. It's going to make it rain on the Umbreons this season. And it's not going to be paired with Mega Swampert, not in a positive way anyway. So we are moving, ladies and gentlemen, to our final round here. We have one more round left. I'm going to grab Joedor here to close things out if he's available. And thank you, Elliot, for joining me on this beautiful commentary. We'll have you back for the post-draft discussions.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for having me, guys. And guys, get some hype in the chat, because the next round is the last round.
This is the final round, guys. But as soon as this round is over, we're going to be breaking down each one of the teams very, very briefly before we wrap up, and you'll get to see all that. And don't forget to check out each respective coach's channels or their Twitter handles to make sure you guys can get their draft breakdowns. Make sure you guys are subscribed and supporting the NPA, not only on the NPA channels, but also on the individual coaches' channels as well. Do not forget that. So here we are, the final round. I want to thank you guys again for joining us here. And again, we will continue to discuss some of the picks after this round, so don't go away just yet. But is there anything, Joe, that you think is on the board still that you are just blown away that it's still available?
I mean, I know my pick, so I'm hoping it doesn't get sniped, but
yeah,
I mean,
probably don't want to talk about it then. Fair enough.
I really don't want to talk about that. But other than that, I could see, just taking a quick look here. Oh wow! Actually, you know what? There's way too many here. We'll just go over them as we go.
We'll see what happens, right? So round 11.
There's a lot of quality value picks here that could still be picked up.
Okay, so we're gonna jump right into round 11. All right, let's do this, man. Round 11 picks coming through. The Umbreons coming in, and they are gonna pick Poliwrath to go with Politoed.
Poliwrath and Politoed. Interesting 1-2 punch there. Kind of just pouring salt on the wound there that they stole the Drizzle Politoed just to follow it up with a Poliwrath. So very interesting pick by Chriselle. Going to be kind of interesting to see where it goes from there. I was like, you going somewhere? Or?
I'm just kidding. Anyway, so Poliwrath comes through. You did a great job, man. It's okay. So our next pick coming through for the Tampa Bay Luxrays. We should get here. I just thought that was funny, Politoed and Poliwrath. The Poly Squad, man. I like it. Big Bouffalant. Rock that afro, baby. Bouffalant coming through here with that Sap Sipper ability. Pretty good bulk, and it is going to head charge some opponents to potential victory. I don't know. I always say head smash to victory, but this is head charge. Is that what it's called? Head charge?
think so, honestly. I've only used Bouffant like once in a random battle, so I
It's
couldn't really
head
tell you.
charge.
It is head
It's
charge.
gonna head
Okay.
charge. It's gonna head charge its way to victory, man. This thing's a monster. It hits really, really hard. It's got a good attack stat. That head charge does have a really, really high base power move, and that's gonna round out their team here for the Tampa Bay Luxrays. Very, very interesting to see them add basically a grass immunity. Here's Elliot coming through with Licky Licky.
Oh my God, Licky Licky.
Okay, so Licky Licky, shout out to Omar in the chat, Sean Jones Jr. for picking this one out for me. Actually, this is a good Pokemon. I don't know, I never really used it before, but I'm really looking forward to using it. It has a really, really, really like large move pool. Pretty much, I can run knockoff. I can run it as a cleric even with heal balance. It's a really just great Pokemon in general. Like a poor man's Chansey, except it can do more than Chansey within its moves and whatnot. I wouldn't say it's really a more man's Chansey, but still, it's decent, and I kind of needed at least one normal type on my team basically to do its thing. So yeah,
It's got a Wi-Fi signal on its belly. I never noticed that. You need to nickname it free Wi-Fi. Anyway, the Golden State Go-Goats are gonna round out their team here with Cloyster. So Cloyster is a shell smashing monster. Does get rapid spin as well. A little bit of priority. This thing can actually destroy a team if it's not ready for it. This is a Pokemon that I've yet to see used effectively in the Draft League format, but I actually do believe that Cloyster can put in a lot of work.
I've used it very well in UU tier. I'm a little surprised it fell all the way down to pick 11, but I mean, it might just be the fact of no one having the right team format built for it.
Yeah, so Radioactive coming through here, picking up Leopard, a prankster speedy Pokemon in Tier 5, I believe, or Tier 4. What do you think about Leopard, Joe?
Leopard is another prankster T-Waver, so it's good to see a lot of those are going up. A lot of people are going to be relying on those ground types to basically handle the prankster T-Wavers all over the place. Plus throw in some Sucker Punch, and Leopard actually makes out for a decent threat in lower tiers, so not bad at all.
It's a decent lead with U-turn, potentially knockoff. You carry it with a sash or something like that, or it could be offensive too. It's just a bit of a glass cannon, but that prankster allows it to have some utility. The Atlanta Braviaries picking up the 6th generation bug Pokemon, the only 6th generation fully evolved bug Pokemon.
And number 666, this devil of a butterfly coming in with Quiver Dance and all kinds of other bug buzzing and air slashing shenanigans, anything else like that. It's a major threat that's going to be slept on, I guarantee you.
It's going to put some things to sleep with that Compound Eyes Sleep Powder, hitting those Hurricanes with a lot more accuracy, actually getting over 90% accurate with its Hurricane and its Sleep Powder, I believe, because of that Compound Eyes. So if this thing's able to avoid Stealth Rocks, it could definitely put in some work paired with that Mega Absol. The St. Louis Swamperts here, very devastated over the fact that they cannot pick Politoed, so they're going to pick Raticate instead.
Raticate. I mean, Super Fang, Hyper Fang? I'm honestly not too familiar with Raticate. Maybe it might go like Toxicorp Facade. I mean, I'm not really too sure with Raticate. Does it have a lot of viability? I don't really use Raticate even in the lower tiers, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
It actually does hit really hard with that Guts Facade. Similar to Ursaring, the problem is it's 97 base speed, if I'm not mistaken. That's off the top of my head, so I have no idea. But I know it's just a little bit slower than it would like to be, but it can put in some work here. And the Anaheim Apoms, I think this might be the last Mega pick of the draft. Mega Audino coming through as their round 11 pick.
Wow, Mega Audino, one of the bulkiest mons in anything below UU, I think. So Mega Audino, definitely something that was slept on for it to fall all the way down here. Definitely really powerful, good cleric, rock and dazzling gleam, anything else like that. Very powerful. Good pick by Kyle there.
Yeah, very interesting to see, and we do force Mega Evolution first turn, so it's not going to be able to take advantage of that Regenerator ability, but Audino can be used effectively as a great support Pokemon here. The Lancaster Castforms are going to be bringing another Sticky Webber and Toxic Spike setter, Ariados. Very, very uncommon to see in the Draft League format, but it does get both of those support moves, not to mention Priority and Sucker Punch, and it can hit relatively hard with its Mega Horn.
Yeah, I think because there's 24 teams, at this point you get down to a point where Ariados actually has some really good utility with its Sticky Web. And I personally have lost games where all the Ariados would come and do is set up Sticky Webs and die, and then the other 5, being cohesive enough to get an advantage over me. So definitely something to watch out for, kind of an advantage in of itself.
So the Hampshire Haunters coming through with their final pick. It is going to be Samurott, a Tier 5 Pokemon that I think a lot of people really were hoping it would get a great hidden ability just like Superior and Emboar did, but no, it got shell armor instead. This thing can hit from both sides, the physical or the special side, but its speed stat tends to let it down a little bit.
Yeah, that is a little bit of the unfortunate thing about Samurott, is that it could be higher if it just had some decent speed. I know it gets, I think it gets Aqua Jet, but it's just not, it doesn't hit hard enough to justify, not setting up.
Yeah, it needs to benefit from that Swords Dance. The New York Clinks are going to pick up another fast water type Floatzel here, as we're seeing some of the real low tier stuff coming through. Floatzel isn't that bad though. It can't be burned by Scald at the very least.
Yeah, that is true. Plus, it also has that HP Electric to kind of that you see on it so commonly to basically trick other water types that they think they can set in. Maybe throw in like a water absorber or something, and then hit him over the head with the HP Electric. So not a bad pick there at all.
Yeah, we'll see how it performs this season. Like I said, we are kind of getting into the very depths of the Pokemon that are available. We got Garbodor coming through for the Dallas Staraptors, a Toxic Spike and Spike setting Poison-type Pokemon, setting up some potential hazards to kind of complement Mega Metacham, which will definitely, and Bisharp too, it'll definitely appreciate that the Spike stacks.
Kind of funny seeing Garbodor coming in round 11, just highlighting that, you know, this tier is going to be, or this round is going to be considered garbage by some people, but a lot of these mons are going to pack a lot of utility and a lot of versatility here. So we might see a couple sleepers, a couple of dark horses come out of this round. So
yeah, I definitely agree. And there is Mantike. That's not a typo, ladies and gentlemen. The Los Angeles Klefkis for their last pick overall are going to pick Mantike.
Is that even on the board?
I don't even know if it was on the draft list.
I don't even know if we put it on the board. I mean, it kind of makes sense. This thing's got, you know, you throw on an Eviolite and it's got as much special bulk as Mantine. And, you know, that would make it a decent, you know, it can even handle electric moves fairly well. But still, like, that thing just gets one-shot by any physical move. Like, I'm not really sure what to do about that. Maybe just kind of go with an Aqua Ring and hope that you're only dealing with special threats, maybe?
It gets Water Absorb. Anyway, the Baltimore Blaze Kings coming through with their next pick. This is a great pick. This is a sleeper in my opinion. One of the best tier 5s, I honestly believe. Rotom, regular Rotom, just regular Rotom form here, does have base 91 speed, so it's just a tiny bit faster than its other forms, and it is Ghost type, which the other forms do not have. And that allows it to be a good, spin blocker. It also has the ability to Volt Switch for momentum, and the biggest thing that Rotom does is Trick, and Trick Scarves, and dual status with Willow and Thunderwave.
Yeah, honestly, Trick on a Rotom is one of the greatest things to take out a setup mon or a trap mon, basically just force it into doing that over and over.
So the next pick here coming in for the Charizards here to round out their lineup, they're going to pick Lilligant, the Quiver Dancing Grass-type Pokemon, does have access to Sleep Powder, and of course, once it gets a few Quiver Dances under its belt, it is going to just destroy teams, but I've yet to see it used too effectively in this format.
Yeah, I've yet to see it used either, just because it's outsped by most of its major threats, and therefore, you know, it doesn't have enough time to get even with a Quiver Dance setup, it runs a little behind, and there are better mons to fill its role. So that's kind of why it's relegated to such a low tier.
Yeah, the Huntsville Houndooms, another what I consider to be a very good tier 5 pick, picking up Electivire. I think this is personally my favorite design of a Pokemon that isn't that good. Electivire can be really good, but it's just let down by its speed stat, and so many Pokemon are like that. It's got a really good 123, I think, base physical attack stat. Can be used specially offensive as well with Volt Switch, but it just lacks on the speed side of things.
And it gets absolutely annihilated by pretty much any ground type or any ground type move. You could throw an air balloon on it, but then you leave it so empty inside, it doesn't have much else to go off of.
Yeah, the Los Angeles Landorus are going to pick up Meowstic, and that's interesting because they actually get to use both forms, I believe.
Oh yeah, that is true, because it's not necessarily determined if it's Meowstic male, Meowstic female. So we could see either or coming each week, because it's not like it's a Mega where you have to pick. Interesting choice.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize that until I never even thought about that. It wasn't on my list of things to look at, but
yeah,
Meowstic could be used both ways. It could be like the offensive female version or the more prankster, bulky male like dual screen set.
Yeah, honestly, the dual screen Meowstic is a really powerful mon, so I'll look forward to seeing it for sure.
Yeah, the Boston Celebis are going to come through with their final pick, one of the last rapid spinners on the board. It is going to be Kabutops here. Obviously a Pokemon that benefits very dramatically through the rain, but doesn't look like the rain support is going to be there on this team, but it does give them a rock type and it gives them a rapid spinner. Take a little bit of pressure off the Golbat and the Blastoise, I guess, but Shedinja is going to need a little bit more help.
Yeah, honestly, the problem with Kabutops is it gets shut down by Will-O-Wisp altogether. So you've got Will-O-Wisp on Kabutops, and you can't even, like, what are you going to do, switch into Shedinja on that when you see that coming? Like, that's
sure.
Will-O-Wisp is going to handle this team pretty well.
The mascot pick is here. The Dunsparce are going to pick Dunsparce.
Kind of a no-brainer that eventually he would try to snag his mascot in the end there. It's funny, I actually just used Dunsparce recently. That thing has Serene Grace and Body Slam on that thing. Whoo! What is it, like a 60%?
And Coil.
and Coil, what is like a 60% para chance? Not bad for such a seemingly weak Pokemon. It's actually pretty powerful.
It's very good. It's a very good Pokemon. Kind of overlooked in my opinion. Just wanted to drop in here.
Yeah, no worries, all good.
All right, the New Jersey Nidoking picking up a Pokemon that I actually think is a lot better than people give it credit for. Raichu, which has shown its ability to be successful in VGC, but how will it perform in a singles format? It does have a very good base speed, I believe 110. Some good coverage options with things like Surf and obviously the electric stabs. E-speed for priority, but we'll see how Raichu works out this season.
Great thing about Raichu is it's really good to bait in the your water ground types and just come in with a grass knot and just take them out. So Quagsire and not Shellos, Gastrodon users, beware.
Yeah, we'll see how Raichu works. It does have the Lightning Rod ability as well. And you're going to pick up Archeops here, a very, very good Pokemon. I believe it fell in the Tier 4 this season. What do you think about Archeops, Joe?
I needed Archeops for the rock and the flying type. I realized I was missing both of those. And honestly, there were a couple threats that I was facing off in week 1 that would really benefit from, in week 1, in like the first couple weeks, that would really benefit from this. Plus, throw on a Citrus Berry. It can tank most hits, even super effective, to at least live to about 5-10%. Get that Citrus Berry off and start going to town on people with acrobatics. So
yeah.
Very something I'm looking forward to using for sure.
Yeah, I think Archeops can put in some work here. The Houston Raichu's picking up their final pick. Probopass, big mustache, a.k.a. Mr. Thornberry here. And Probopass does have
smashing.
It's so smashing. Has the ability to trap opposing steel types with that magnet pull ability. Not to mention the ability to give some momentum with Volt Switch. Does get Stealth Rocks as well. But that huge crippling ground weakness and the fighting weakness too, it's just got a lot of those crippling weaknesses, so I don't know how
sleep
effective...
on that T-Wave. That T-Wave, that giant nose can make people just freeze from fear. I don't know what it is.
Mr. Potato Head. So my final pick here as the New York Metapods. I'm going to round out my team with my friend here. His name is Shiftry, also known as Pinocchio. I really like Shiftry for this team. I think that it takes a little pressure off of Mega Sableye for the hazards. I get a reliable defogger. I also get an offensive Dark-type Pokemon that can hit really hard with knockoff. Shiftry's a good Pokemon, and I think that it fits right in the speed tier where it needs to be effective. It does get Chlorophyll, and it can hit from both sides with Leaf Storm. It also can hit with knockoff, like I mentioned before. Priority and Sucker Punch, and gives me a little bit more offense, which my team has a decent amount, but I think that Shiftry is going to give me some good options here. So to round out the final pick here of the NPA draft, it is going to be the Cincinnati Crowbats picking Meganium.
Kind of interesting. When I picked my last pick, I was contemplating between Archeop, or when I picked Ferroseed, excuse me, I was actually thinking of running Eviolite Bayleaf, trying to bring that out, but then I decided against it. But Meganium definitely's got that bulk, definitely got that that sun, that all the strength it can have in the sun. It can heal. It has a lot of utility and a lot of versatility, which is pretty much what you need out of a low tier pick. So really good pick by JPP there to round out the draft here. So.
Awesome. So I think we could just jump into our post-draft discussion here. We have I believe everything's getting set up here. So let's look at some of these teams right here, and we'll look at each team really quickly, and we'll kind of talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses here on this sheet. This is the blue division, so these teams are going to be facing off against each other, and maybe rather than talk about each specific team, we could talk about who you think is going to be the front runner in this division. So Joe, who do you think is going to take over the blue division this season?
Well, if we went off last season as a pattern, which I don't know if we will, anything can happen, of course, I definitely see JerryOak and the Los Angeles Landorus coming out in at least the top 2 here. It'll be interesting to see if people can handle it, because he's bringing Shaman again. He's got Metagross on top of that. He's got Flygon, Manectric, and Infernape there. So he's got a very powerful Volturn core, along with a lot of good bulk in Slowbro, and he's got Mega T-Tar to kind of lead the charge there. So very big threat, in my opinion, out of the blue division. Also, I wouldn't want to sleep on the Staraptors or the Cubchews, both packing a lot of good threats here. That Mega Venusaur is going to be a problem. The Mamoswine's going to be a problem. The Manectric, or not the Manectric, the Magnezone and the Bisharp going to be some threats for sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if people have been giving Cressel kind of been underestimating her, because she's not necessarily a battler per se up until this point. She's got a really good assistant coach, and she's got a really powerful draft here. I would say look out for the Umbreons.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I really like that Scizor, Salamence, Mega Gardevoir, core for Fairy Dragon Steel. Mega Gardevoir is very effective, but I see some issues with the Umbreon's team. They're really lacking speed. They don't have anything that's going to go over that 100 base speed barrier aside from Ambipom. In terms of other teams that stand out, I really like the Cubchoo's here. I think Mamoswine is, in my opinion, a top 2 round pick. I think pair that with Mega Venusaur, Vaporeon, Arcanine for a Firewater Grass Core. It's going to be very hard to get through those 3 Pokemon, especially with all 3 of them having reliable recovery. Wish from Vaporeon, Morning Sun from Arcanine, and Synthesis from Venusaur is going to make those Pokemon very difficult to take down. The Cubchoo's and Galactic Elliot are going to have a hard time, though, making sure they're able to manage enough offense with Mamoswine and Azelf, because there's going to be a lot of pressure put on those 2 Pokemon, in my opinion. It's also going to be interesting to see how the Staraptors function this season with their sticky web. Galvantula kind of giving some openings to Mega Medicham and Bisharp. If a team does not have a good Rapid Spinner, they're going to have a lot of trouble with that Bisharp, because Defog is going to boost his attack with its Defiant ability. But I think it's a good idea for us to move to our second division here. We've got the Gold Division coming up, which is actually my division, but I'll let you go first, Joe.
Yeah, honestly, I felt kind of bad because when we seeded the drafts here, we had Shadow Gatler, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, due to his own reasons, in the Gold Division. But when Dan joined, it basically turned this division into the Division of Death, as I like to call it, because we've got the Metapods. Obviously, Dan's won a lot of championships. We've got Kyle does battles. Baby Powder, the Duns Barcelona have made the playoffs in their leagues. Tesla does tons of battles. Person made the finals last season. So this is definitely going to be a super competitive division for sure. Looking at the teams here, I know, Dan, you've got some amazing bulk and your core is relatively set up and pretty down pat. So people are just going to have to basically overpower you, just do better, have a player better game in order to get the win on you. So it's going to be a little difficult there. I'm looking at Tesla's team here. Tesla made some interesting picks that kind of raised a couple eyebrows here for me. So it'll be interesting to see how he can move with the Typhlosion. But I do see a lot of his familiar OU threats that I see on his own stream being with Latias and Rotom Wash. So a lot of familiarity on his part there.
Yeah, I just want to clarify a point there. I've yet to win a championship. I've lost 2, but I'm working on it. So, in terms
Did
of
I say win a championship? I mean, you've been to a bunch of championships.
I've been to a few, and I'm looking to try to win some moving up here, coming soon. But we've got this is my division here, and in all honesty, if I look at these teams here, the team that I'm most scared of is probably the Apoms. Just Victini alone makes that team very, very scary. For Alligator, Tangrowth is a very, very big threat. I don't want to sleep on the Nidokings either, though. I think you really can't underestimate Pokemon like Sylveon. They can hit so hard, and with a wall breaker like Sylveon and another wall breaker in Hydreigon, not to mention some good bulk with Mega Aggron, a little bit of speed there with the Crobat, the Acelgor. There's some potential for Blue and the Nidokings to put in some work this season. So yeah. I think it's going to be very interesting. And, I could say that, I'm very, very excited about my team personally. I'm not going to say I'm going to, be the best team here, because that's really not fair of me to say. But I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I got my nice little regenerator core there. I got quite a bit of bulk. And I think I have enough offense with Scolipede, Entei, Gardevoir, and Thundurus. So
one final comment about the Gold Division there is I know that a certain somebody by the name of Baby Potter likes to talk a lot of smack about how good he's going to do the season. Note that his team has a weakness to Psychic, Dark, and Fighting on pretty much every single mon on his team. So for those of you who are playing Baby Potter, bring Psychic, Dark, and Fighting. Have fun, Jared. Love you, man.
There you go. All right, so let's move on to the next division here. We got the Red Division, and the Red Division has some very, very interesting teams here. Obviously, the biggest standout to me, I have to just do it again, the Swamperts. Picking up Mega Swampert, but not having any automatic rarities, so they're going to really have to rely on manual rain, but they do have Gothitelle, which with that Shadow Tag can put in a lot of work. But I think the standout team here, in all honesty, has to be the Charizards. That Firewater Grass Core with Mega Charizard X, which actually, with the right team around it, can be one of the best Megas in this format. You got Starmie, a great Rapid Spinner and a great support Pokemon to fit with Charizard. Also hits relatively hard, has a great speed stat. Ferrothorn gives the bulk there. Hippowdon also gives a ton of bulk, and you cannot sleep on offensive Pokemon like Alakazam. The speed with Mienshao, the speed with Sneasel, the speed with Heliolisk. Honestly, I think the Charizards might have the best team this season.
Honestly, and considering they won the championship last season, that just means that Vump's going to be have an even bigger target on his back. So people are going to be having to work, twice as hard to figure out how to counter format for this team here. And a lot of it's going to come down to guessing on hoping that you picked the right 6 of his and have the perfect counter for, because he's got a very complete team here, probably the most complete, at least out of the red division that I've seen so far.
Yeah, I really do strongly feel that I think the Charizards do have the best drafted team, but there's a lot more to it than that. Just to kind of throw this out there, I've been ranked in the bottom of in the leagues I've been in. I've always been ranked at the bottom of the league in terms of how my draft comes out, but you don't actually know how the team's going to play out until you get into the season. The coach, the assistant coaches, all that stuff is going to matter. Preparation is going to be incredibly important, and in the counter team format, I've seen the team that had the worst possible matchup in the world come out with the W many times. So team doesn't always mean anything, but I really like the Charizards, and I think this is going to be a very interesting division, but I think between the Blazekins and the Charizards, it's going to be some tough competition here.
I would not be surprised if I see a couple teams making some trades early on in the way of picking up some speed here, particularly the GoGoats and a little bit so with the Klefkis here. A lot of bulk and a lot of power more on the slow end, and you're going to find that that's going to run into a lot of problems down the line when people can just completely outmaneuver you and two-shot you at 55%, and suddenly your bulk doesn't matter much at all.
All right, so I think it's time for us to move to the last division here, the Silver Division, which is your division. So if you want to talk a little about your division first, go for it.
I mean, I can't really speak objectively about my team just because, I picked with, the best that I had at the time. So if you want to kind of break mine down, that'd be great. But as far as my competition here, I see SonicBrawler bringing a pretty powerful team compared to what he brought last year. The Shedinja still raises an eyebrow for me. Papacy with the Clinks, that is going to be a major threat. I'm going to have to find a way to handle that Manaphy and the Honchkrow and the Blissey. They're going to be a nice little core that he's going to be able to, he's got the intimidating Hitmontop, he's got Skarmory, he's got Hoopa U. I'm going to have a lot of trouble there. Looking over at Brady. Brady is my first round week. I'm already planning in my mind how I'm going to deal with about half this team. I do have coverage for a lot of it, but as you said before, this game is more than just coverage. And then as far as the Castforms and the Crobats are concerned, I'm seeing a lot of bulk, I'm seeing a lot of power. This is not going to be an easy division by any stretch of the imagination. I think the Gold division is going to be the toughest one by far, but I would not sleep on my competition being pretty powerful in of itself.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of great points there. One of the things I really like about some of these teams, let's talk about the Castforms first. I'm a little bit worried that there's going to be just a little too much pressure put on Latios to keep those hazards off the field for that Talonflame, for that Pidgeot. Obviously, Bird Jesus does get defogged, but that's going to take away a valuable move slot. Otherwise, the Crobats have a pretty interesting bulky lineup there with Chansey and Gliscor, that Tangrowth, but I just don't see the offense. I don't think you can put enough offensive pressure on your opponent with Staraptor and Gallade, so I think they're going to need, and Lucario, I just don't think that's enough, personally. I think it's a little bit redundant. There's 3 Pokemon that have fighting coverage, fighting coverage, not stab on the Staraptor, but I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. I do like the Clinks, though. I think the Skarm Bliss team there, not to mention a team with Manaphy is going to be good and useful. Mega Ampharos, we'll see how it kind of works out. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sold on it, but Ampharos and Manaphy were both on Joey's championship team in the UCL, so they can't be that bad. And talking about your team, Joe, because I know you want to hear about that, I think Mega Manectric is a very, very good Mega. It's not the kind of Pokemon that's going to pick up, the top, lead the league in kills, but it's such a good Pokemon to fit in really any team, and just because it's so fast, it does get Intimidate. I think Clefable is very, very good. It's going to have to be used, appropriately. You're going to have to kind of find the right balance between using it physically or defensively versus offensively. But you can't sleep on things like Crawdaunt. You can't sleep on things like Haxorus. Those Pokemon provide so much offensive power. You got a little bit of priority there. We'll see how things kind of go. You're relying a little bit on Sandslash to get rid of your hazards. That's the biggest thing I see. That is a little bit, leaving a little bit to be desired there. And then kind of last, we got the Celebis with Azu. I really like that. Megalopunny. I think those are 2 really good Pokemon, but I'm not really feeling the Lanoon, the Shedinja. Just a lot of redundant types with the Shedinja and the Dusk Noir, and really putting a lot of pressure on, Blastoise and Golbat to be reliable hazard clearers for a Pokemon like Shedinja. And so I think it's going to be very interesting. But I really like the Clinks in this division, and I think that your team, the Seakings, are really good. The Castforms could be really, really good, but they're going to have to figure out their hazard issues, because I think if you put all that pressure on Latios, you're going to take away from what Latios does best, which is Life Orb Draco Meteors.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And when you mentioned about the type coverage issue with the Celebis, they do have 2 normal, 2 ghost, 2 water. Is that it? Yeah, no. So 3 water, excuse me. So they're going to be very. It's going to be very. It's going to be a little easier to plan for them in terms of type coverage. So that'll be something that Billy's going to have to find a way to deal with. Is how is he going to basically spice things up? How is he going to keep his opponent on edge so he's not able to just predict him week after week?
Alrighty then. So I think this is a great time for us to wrap up here. I want to thank all of you guys for coming out to this live draft stream. Just a reminder, if you are new to the channel, please drop a follow as I do stream Pokemon here pretty much every single day. But big shout out to you, of course, Joe and PokayTroll for organizing the league. Thank you to everyone, all the coaches for coming out, making this draft happen. It's very, very challenging to get 24 teams to come together to do one draft, guys. And of course, big thank you to everyone who came and hung out with us today, to hang out with us, you know, on the stream, and hopefully you guys are excited for the NPA season to start. Again, all the information is in the chat. You can type in the commands for each specific team, or you can check out if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, you can check out the description for any sort of resources. Big shout out to my friend Danny for the donation as well. Thank you, my friend. And Joe, if you have any final words here, man. One more thing, big shout outs to Cone Graphics, guys, putting this whole thing together.
For sure.
Yeah, I know there was a few little mistakes, guys, maybe 3 or 4 total mistakes throughout the whole thing. But when you're talking about, you know, over almost 300 picks and this many slides, I mean, it took hours and hours and hours to create these templates and put everything together. So big special thanks to him. And Joe, I'll let you say anything you need to say as our man in charge here.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to say that big shout out to everyone who's been a part of this so far. So the coaches, the assistant coaches, the coaching staff. We have a lot. This is not just a group of friends getting together and playing some Pokemon. This is very much an operation that we have to run and manage here. So many moving parts, so many people, and I'm glad it's all working together. We've had a lot more. We're doing a lot better, I think, as a management team in planning this season as opposed to the way we did last season. Plugged a lot of holes. We got a lot of backups, a lot of plan Bs ready to go if something goes wrong here. So big shout out to everyone involved. Once again, we do have our final 2 analyst spots open in as far as if you want to apply. So if you've got some analysis experience, I do recommend you go ahead and apply for that position as well. PokayTroll, Bulky Cotton Candy, and I will be going over those probably sometime throughout this week.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that is going to be it for us here in the NPA. Thank you guys again for hanging out with us, and I hope you guys did enjoy our live draft stream. Don't be afraid to check out the NPA. All the coaches, guys, YouTube channel, Twitter, all that stuff is available, and I think that is where we're going to head out, guys. Our week 1 matches will begin next week, and you guys can get all that information from the NPA Twitter and NPA YouTube. And I think that's going to be it for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dan, and on behalf of the entire NPA, we will catch you guys later. Peace.
Later.
Peace.